Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of Orange Bumper Podcast. We've got a very, very special guest today in the house. We've been working really hard to get him here, and we're excited to have him. Longtime friend of Bert's, and I've gotten to know him recently. That's Tony Eury Jr. Tony,
Hey.
we'd like to welcome you here to the show, and you brought another guest with you that we're really looking forward to talking to a little bit later. So we'll get into that in just a second. Did want to talk about the new Diecast that have just come out. Got one right here in front of me, which this is the first time I've actually seen it, and
Pretty cool, huh?
things are really cool.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at the detail, and it, being a part of watching all this come together. The car before the decals, the car after, and everything. I mean, they hit it, man. They hit a lick on this one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I've had modified diecast, but I told me and Tommy were talking about it the other day. If you'd have told me 5 years ago I have a cup car diecast, man,
And on a video game.
and on a video
And
game.
on a video game.
Yeah, so no, it's really cool because of the detail. It's not like when we were growing up,
Right.
but
What
they're
was
a little
it growing
different
up?
now.
Wooden Uddens? Is that-
Wooden Uddens,
Yeah.
yeah, we had the Wooden Uddens there for a while with
Yeah.
the modifieds,
But
but
this thing is like ridiculously detailed. I'm really impressed. I mean, you haven't given me one, so I guess I'll buy one. But it'll be worth the money. Which car ran better, this car or your car at Old Dominion this past weekend?
Yeah, Dominion was tough, man. I'm really disappointed in Dominion just because I'd said last week that it's one of my favorite
Yeah.
tracks. It still is. We've been fighting four drive all year, and we learned some stuff at Caraway that car was really good, and so we took some of that into Dominion. But Dominion's a little different. It's high banked, really fast. It's got a lot of grip. And last year at Dominion, in practice, you could drive the car just about as hard as you want to drive it. But in the race, we were still fighting for grip. So we took a lot of the stuff that we learned at Caraway and put it in the car for Dominion. And when we unloaded, the drive was out of sight, but I just ran out of racetrack. And what I mean is when I got in the gas, the car just wanted to push up to the wall. And so you can't get in the gas as hard as you want to, because if you do, you'll knock a right front off the car. So we come in, and without getting technical, we changed about 3 different things, go back out, car hasn't changed how it's driving. Come back in, do some more, car hasn't changed how it's driving. So from the beginning of the run, after 45 laps, we were running exactly the same lap times. And I told Jamie, I said, if we were leading, it'd be okay. I said, but I can't pass nobody. I cannot. The car just would bite down on the left rear so hard that it just pushed right through the right front. And we changed, like the stuff that we changed on that car would be the difference in going to Bristol or Daytona. Like it was out of sight how much we changed on that car, and it's still driving the same. And we mock up, we put stickers on, we mock up, we throw more at it. And I think we ran a 68, which was 12th, but 4th was a 60. So we thought, well,
Close.
maybe we're not as bad as we thought. And Dominion, the field is really tight. And we went to qualify. We qualified at 91 and was 15th. And I'm like, man, I didn't know what else to do, because we'd thrown everything at it that we could. And so I said, well, we'll get going in the race. And then the track, sun went down. And I said, track will free up now. We'll be all right. And next thing you know, I'm pretty much running dead ass last and can't keep up. And I'm moving around and I'm trying things, changing how I'm driving the car. And at one time he said, you just ran the same lap time as the leader, but I was just handicapped all night and ended up 10th. So, I mean, really and truly to end up 10th, and I can't believe I'm saying it, it wasn't too bad considering, because we were really bad. So what it tells me is, and I think Tony will probably agree with me, is whenever you have a car that you make all these changes to and it doesn't drive any different. The car drove the same when we loaded it as it did when we unloaded. And we made like wholesale changes that were Band-Aid changes, but should have done something and didn't do anything. I've got a mechanical problem. I don't know if I got a shock that's acting up. I don't know if I got a control arm that's binding up. I don't know if I got a track bar that's bottoming out. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but there's a mechanical problem that's causing something, because Jamie, the strategy was actually going to be pretty cool, because we were last year the winner of the race pit at lap 30 at the stage. Well, normally in the South and modifieds, you don't want to pit that early because at the end when everybody pits, they're just going to blow back by you. But at Dominion's a little different. Well, last year the winner of the race pit at lap 30, and he kind of snookered everybody. He came in early and pit and got track position and won the race. So we were like, all right, well, everybody's probably going to pit at lap 30. Well, there's a caution at lap 23. And Jamie comes on the radio. He said, I think we pit now. The guys that come in at 30, we're going to leapfrog them. And I said, Jamie, you trying to get me run over? He said, I know, but if we pit now, I said, you don't understand. Last place we need to be is in front of this field. Like, you're going to get me run over.
Right.
And the car was just that bad. It's all I could do to keep it out of the wall. And it's cool because Slate had a really good run.
Slate had a great car.
Slate finished fifth. And I watched the car. And so Sunday night when we got home, Thomas with Fence Line Film had put a GoPro on the roof and a GoPro on the steering shaft aimed at his feet. So it's a split screen so you could see it. He's like, Dad, watch this video. And he goes, whoa, nails the gas and drives off the corner. I said, yeah, my car wouldn't do that. That must be nice. My car wouldn't do that. So we've got a problem there. We're still addressing it today. We're going to let me go ahead and say this too. We are going to Ace Friday night with the stadium. They're having a Bowman Gray modified race. Some things kind of had to line up for us to do it because we got to be at Franklin County at like 8 o'clock the next morning. But we are going, me and Slate and Jason are all going to Ace Friday night. So I had to get that car knocked out. And then today we're going to dissect the tour car.
So when you have something like that, I mean, do you literally just about break that thing all the way down?
The first thing I'm going to do is put it on the ground and back the rebound off on all the shocks and mash on the front, mash on the back, jack it back up, pull the shocks off, pull the rear end up and down, pull the front suspension up and down to make sure something's not bottomed out somewhere. And then from there, we'll just kind of start looking to try to find stuff. I mean, there's only so many things it can be.
Right.
But yeah, we'll just go through the car. But it was, it sucks, man. When you're out there like that and you're just hanging on, man.
Can you save him some time and just go ahead and tell him what it is?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you said, it could be a number of things. I mean, I've had some of the super stuff, like you go and bump wheels and the toe gets out on the housing and it'll make the car react a certain way that you can't fix. And, you could bump wheels with somebody and have an A-frame shaft bend and just have a little bit of bind in it or something. And it just makes the car not react the way it needs to. So that's probably what it is. But you just, like he said, you just got to go each corner and check it out and see what happens.
Let me back up. I didn't give Tony a proper introduction. If you don't know who he is, welcome to the United States.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to the English language and welcome to NASCAR. Been around NASCAR for a long time, as is his father, his whole family. Most notably crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr., Michael Waltrip, crew chief for some, Danica, some. Who was it? Kozlowski for just a little bit, I think.
Done a little bit with Kozlowski.
Been around one of the greatest stories like of an era. I would love to just sit down at a campfire and just sit there and drink and just listen because I was growing up as you were in Cup and Junior and us are pretty much the same age. I think you and I are probably the same age. But one of the things I've always found interesting about you and listening to you and learning about you, and we like to use the terminology creative engineer. And it seems like you were and still are at the forefront of engineering, but back in the day, more creative engineering. Will they understand this creative engineering? Can we get by with it? And I think that's, I know that's something our audience really likes hearing about. And I know you're now at GMS. You're doing, explain what you're doing with GMS right now.
Right now I went to work for GMS, and we're basically starting a super late model, pro late model division up there to sell those kind of cars. And I'm over, we redesigned the car from the ground up, and now we're just getting all the jigs and everything set up and really turning that place into a forefront for super late models. And then, later on, maybe we can get my buddy back over here. We're looking at maybe doing some modifieds down the road. Right now the focus is on super late models and trucks right now to get things going, but it's a lot of fun. Just got all kind of resources up there. We're up there at Statesville Airport, so it's you can innovate a lot of things up there with the tools that we have.
Well, I noticed on this car right here, I don't know if this is the exact setup you put in it or not, but I did want to talk
Front
about.
end ain't knocked off of that
No,
one.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that one looks nice right there. I did want to talk about the Clash because that was so unique. And when Bert told me that you were coming on board to help with it, I was like, all right, like here we go. I'm curious as to what your take was on the Clash and the performance of you and Bert, and is there something there to build on? The pluses, the minuses.
Yeah, I mean, it was ever since Bert called me and asked me if I'd go to Clash with him on that deal. I mean, I've had a lot of fun with the new Cup car, just understanding it and seeing how it's built. Like I went to the first Daytona race with one because I was just more interested, like how is the sport evolving, where's it going, and it was a pretty neat little deal to be involved with. And then we done the Clash here. And I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know how good the race was going to be at the Clash, but I was really surprised at how good of a race it put on.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the sport needs is more of the North Wilkesboros, and I feel like going to Bowman Gray, there was some money put into the stadium to upgrade everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, I think that's what the sport needs to be doing. I think when RJ Reynolds was a part of it, that's what they did. They went around to all the local short tracks and they helped keep those tracks up and keep them up afloat because at the end of the day, that's where your racers are coming from.
Right.
So anything that we can do, if they can go to more of these small tracks and, hey, we'll have a special event here and they can build it up and help get that track, up to scale, safety wise, if it's fences, whatever, I think you're making an impact to the lower level. But, that deal right there with me and Bert, we had a blast with it, like I told him, I said, did you ever think you was going to be a Cup driver? So it was a lot of fun. We learned a lot, each heat race, we learned a little something. And I think in the B main there, we were picking it up and doing pretty good until we had our accident. But, just all in all, it was a good time.
And this kind of was behind the scenes question. So when y'all start talking about this deal and going to the stadium and, your knowledge of the stadium is going to give you a instant bonus. Your knowledge of race cars and specifically, with this car, it was a good merger. But behind the scenes, what was y'all's conversation about? All right, like, what is this? Like, what are we expecting?
Well, I'll be honest. I came in with an open mind. I mean, and the racer in me, I thought we're going to win this race. I mean,
that's where you got to be.
And no slur to Willie and the 50 team, but I mean, when you're going up against Penske and Hendricks and Gibbs and some of those teams, it's you don't know what to expect. But there's so little variables whenever you talk about doing a race like Bowman Gray that I thought, well, all the motors are the same, all the cars are the same, and with Tony crew chiefing and me driving, man, we're going to win this race.
Right.
And then what I was surprised about was, and I guess it's because of technology with sim and all that stuff. I did the static sim. I didn't get to do the one that moves around and all that stuff.
Right.
The way that those guys were bad fast right off the truck, that's what really surprised me.
Yeah.
Right.
It didn't take any time for them to get acclimated. And I guess it was because of the sim stuff that they were able to do that. And then Chase, even though he won the race, he had raced there before.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing is knowing the cars. So I didn't know much about how, on the technical side, how it worked. But it's funny because we were telling the story about Jamie, my crew chief, was there with us. And after the first heat race, or not the first heat race, first practice, it's an 8-minute practice. We got lapped 3 times. Right. And I'm like, Tony said, what's it doing? And I said, I need a minute. Like I didn't even know how to tell him what I was feeling. And I told this story before. The cool thing was with it being Tony and with our history and with the modifieds and stuff, I said, it feels like I'm at Hickory with a 400-pound spring in the right rear. He said, okay, I got you. Well, the setup, I guess our setup leading up to it had changed a couple times because we were feeding off of the data that some other teams had shared with us. And so we just kind of put a setup in the car that other teams said, yeah, on the sim, this worked. And so that's what we put in the car.
Right.
And when we got there, and it didn't. And so Tony said, all right, let me work on it. So he made a few changes, and I go out in the next practice, and it's a little better, but it still feels like I'm up on the track. And I told him, okay, you're better, but still need this. And then I think when we qualified, we were tight. And I said, okay, now it's in the track, but now it won't turn. He said, all right, well, the funny thing is when we qualified, we were dead last. And then the 35 and Tim were dead last and next to last round.
Right.
We were all sitting there together, and Jamie comes up to Tony and he says, look, I got to figure this out. He says, what do you mean? He said, I've been to Hickory and tested with you in the modified, and we changed shocks and springs 60 times, and you ain't jacked this car up yet. What's the deal? And he said, we can't. So I didn't know. I had no idea that, I guess you submit the setup.
Yeah, you basically, when you come out of the truck, that's why simulation's so big in the Cup world now. It's like when you come out of the truck, the 4 springs and 4 shocks that you submit to NASCAR, that's what you're on. Like, you can make some shock adjustments, but the 4 springs, you're locked in. The sway bar, you can change the blade on the sway bar to change the rate in and out, but whatever you have, you basically are stuck with.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that.
Know?
So I'm like,
I mean, I've seen.
so when he told me that, I'm like, well, what are we going to do? Because we're not very good. So what are we going to do? So
I mean, it's like you're an impound every week, so you can make a sway bar adjustment with the blade or adjustment in and out preload, and then you can make shock adjustments. And that's basically it. You don't have a track bar anymore on these cars. You don't have trailing arms that you can move and stuff like that. So you're kind of locked in.
Is this from post-COVID where practice was cut out and everything, and do they feel like you don't need as much practice, so show up ready to go?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they've figured out, that, hey, how, the owners are like, hey, we need to cut expense. So, we cut it down to where we have a 2-day show, but we got a car that costs 3 times as much, so it's like,
Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of one of them deals. But you really, I think back in the day, the promoters at these tracks, they looked at it as they wanted a 3-4 day weekend because they could sell hot dogs,
Yeah.
they could sell concessions, they could
Yeah.
make money that way. Well, now I think it's all turned into TV money,
Yeah.
so, and it's like, the TV, it's like, okay, how long does the people got to be there? Let's cut down on the travel expense.
That's
and
a
that kind of
reflection
stuff.
on attendance. I mean,
Yeah.
Bristol Night Race used to be one of the, Super Bowl, World Series, Bristol Night Race. This past weekend, I noticed at the in the stands. I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah, I had somebody go to Bristol. I was up in Gatlinburg for the rod run this weekend, and I had a guy come up to me that was there, and he was like, man, because I went to the Bristol truck race, and he goes, I absolutely loved it. He said, that was the most fun I ever had. He goes, it was just really cool. And I'm like, yeah. I said, Bristol's an awesome place. It's a great race to go watch. I said, but if you thought that place was great, you should have been there when there was 107,000 people
Yeah.
in there
Yeah, boy.
screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
I said, that's when it was magic. I said, and that's what I remember from our golden days. A lot of times I sit around and we were very fortunate of everything that we did with the 8 and Bud and with Dale Jr. and all. And I kind of wish that somebody would have done something like Michael Jordan with the Dream, with that 7 series where they followed them around when they were winning the championships and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wish somebody was following us around and we didn't know, just to kind of capture the stories, the events, and the things that have happened. Because it's pretty amazing everything that and I think Dale Jr. talks about on his podcast now about, how serious he was about it here and there and all. And it was like, for the amount of stuff that we did and races that we won back in them days. And I mean, at one time, I think Pops was the oldest guy. We called him Uncle Jesse a lot of times because we were like the Duke kids. There was nobody on the team that was over 23 years old.
God.
So, and he's sitting here 40 years old, and he's got these teenagers, and you know what we like to do. We like to party, drink, do it all. And he's trying to keep us corralled and saying, hey, I'm trying to focus on winning a championship here. So it was, you just look back on them days, and I mean, and look, racing is all about relationships. It's about friends, the people you meet along the way. And, been very fortunate enough to meet a lot of great people and had a lot of great people working for me. And, we had a lot of fun over the years.
And this isn't a slam on NASCAR, but when I go back and watch some of the videos back, when you were with Junior, you could see that. And that kind of seemed like that was the garage culture. Like, you work hard and you party hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes your partying hard would go through the late nights into the early mornings back to the racetrack where you go back to working hard. Now it seems like, just from my limited experience being around the garage with Bert or some other things, everything's very, very business-like. Everything's very prim and proper. And I realize that today's culture is different, but I would have loved to have been part of that crowd back in the day. I don't think so, not so much now.
Yeah, there's so many people that I know in the garage, and they're just trying to figure a way out. It's so business-like. Like, everything's got to be tucked and everything. And it's like, this job is so tough, and the schedule is so long that you have to have fun at some time.
Yeah.
It's not a family sport anymore. I mean, when you're gone, I tell a lot of people this and they don't understand it, but it's like the last year that I did Danica's deal, I was gone. I slept in a motel 298 days.
Golly.
Okay. So you figure, you look at that and say 54 days you were at home.
That's like a military person being on deployment. I mean, the numbers are the same.
Might as well have you a condo where you can just lay your stuff where I come back and clean up and go again. So it was, and that's kind of where I kind of got personally, where, I was like, man, they're paying me not to have a life. I can't see my friends. I don't have a family. I didn't have 2 little boys back then. And it was like, those are the things that I was missing out on. I had a great time. Now, don't get me wrong. Like it's like I told Tanya, I said, I've won a lot of races, met a lot of people. I'd do it all over again. I said, but it just comes a time in your life where you just got to realize that there's something a lot bigger out there.
Yeah. Well,
a lot more to life,
That's exactly right. You got to figure out that there's certain things you want to be defined by, and then there's other things that you just want to be a chapter in your life. And I figured that out, with my career.
We are CitruSafe, where good grilling is made better. We have prided ourselves in being the industry pioneer for safe grill cleaners. Our citrus-powered grill cleaner spray paired with our nylon bristle brushes is all you need when it comes time to clean your grill. We strive to not only save you fuel, but also avoid the dangers associated with ingesting metal wire grill brushes. CitruSafe is available at major retailers nationwide, from Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, Walmart, and many more. We also are available online on Amazon.com. CitruSafe, great for all grills.
So we're at the Clash at Bowman Gray, running good, starting to pass some cars, some of the bigger teams you're running ahead of, and then had the unfortunate, came down, came up, whatever incident, whatever we call it. But
you know what? I was watching where was I watching a couple weeks ago, and Ricky Stenhouse checked up to let somebody in, and I got pissed off. I swear, I just remembered that. It was a couple races ago, and somebody wasn't quite clear, and he started down and he checked up and let him in. I said, God almighty.
That was a points race.
Man.
Well, you got to realize, and it is the whole deal. It's like this, with the 50 car, with the open teams, it's a race. It's a different race.
Yeah.
Okay, so the open cars are all racing the open cars.
Right.
Because you don't have the funds, you don't have the sim, you don't have that stuff. So it's basically you're gathering what information you can through which way you can get it. And then you're trying to, I want to outrun the other open teams.
Right.
It's basically, if you can get in the top 25, it's been a very good day. Chances are, but so I think, when those bigger teams, they see the 50 car going by them, well, it's just an insult.
Yeah.
It's like, they feel like their pride's hurt. And I get it. We've all been there. It's like if you got some girl racers and you're sitting out there and your girl goes past you, you're like, well, what's going on here? You know what I mean? But it's like,
I'm glad he said that.
You know what I'm saying? It's always been like that. That's just the culture, but it's, there's some good girl racers out there, and a lot of them is because they're so smooth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's just,
well, the world, the racing's changed.
Yeah.
And I want people to understand when we make comments like that at our age and the things that we grew up racing with.
Yeah.
Girl race car drivers wouldn't have made it.
No.
When we were coming up. It just was different.
Yeah.
The cars were different. The nature of the sport, the nature of the beast, it was all different.
Well, what drove the
and
sport
I don't
was
mean
different.
that.
No,
I don't
what
mean
drove
that.
the sport was different.
Right. And so now the way the sport is and the way these cars are driving and the technology and everything that's there, that's why you see these young kids can hop right in a car and be fast.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because it's, I don't mean it to sound this way, but it doesn't take a wheelman to drive a cup car anymore.
Right.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And just like when we was talking about with Kyle Busch sitting here.
Yeah.
When Kyle Busch is running 15th,
There's a problem.
it ain't Kyle Busch.
Right.
It's not. And then when you got a kid that's winning, and you're like, man, where'd this kid come from? And he hasn't been through it, and he's not experienced, and he hasn't matured, but he can win races. They say, oh, this kid's a natural. He's got it. Well, can I get in that car one time?
Yeah.
I'd love to drive that car one time. So, and I don't mean that as a disrespect. I'm just telling you that's
No, it
what
just is
that's
what it
what
is.
racing has turned into.
Yeah.
The discussion going to the Clash was, we got everything we need to win. And then we start talking about Martinsville.
Yeah.
How's that? How did that discussion differ from the Clash discussion?
So you want me to tell you exactly what Tony told me? You want me to tell it?
I don't care.
All right. So whenever we worked this deal out, and I brought a lot of the funding with Pinnacle and Dario and CitruSafe to do the Clash.
Right.
So I was tapped. I knew I couldn't go back. I wasn't even going to ask those same partners to be a part of it again because we kind of shot our wad at the Clash. And so we're going to do Martinsville and C3, pressure washes. Casey comes on board, and Willie, got this deal worked out, and we're going to Martinsville. All right, well, is Tony going crew chief again? And Willie said, well, I've talked to him. So I called Tony. I said, look, you going to help me? Because I'll be honest, and I've told this, one of the main reasons that I did the deal with Willie and the 50 car at the Clash was because Tony was going to be involved.
Right.
I said, if Tony's not going to crew chief it, then,
Yeah.
you know, we may have to look at this a little differently. But anyway, Tony's going to crew chief and the whole 9 yards. And I said, well, what do you think? And he said, well, here's the deal. If you want to race a cup car at Martinsville, you want to do it, then do it. Know what you're going to do. And so I said, all right, well, I wanted to race a cup car and at Martinsville in a points race. And now, because I mean, the Clash was a cup race, but it wasn't a points race.
Right.
And so it being Martinsville, I love Martinsville. It's one of the home tracks for us. And, you know, so, but I'll be honest, riding around in 30th all day, just trying to stay out of the way is not fun. It's not fun, but I would do it again. I'd do it again to be able to experience and to be able to do it. But you're just, at that point, you're just kind of making sure you don't screw up somebody's day.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you end up doing is like you end up, you know, you're having fun, you're learning about the car, you're trying to get better because you don't have the practice. You don't have the testing that you could do before.
And see, I didn't realize, I remembered it when it happened. We had to qualify first because of that matrix thing they do or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
We had no points, no nothing. We had to qualify first. So we were the first one to hit the racetrack.
Yeah.
When it come time to qualify.
So he don't even get to see a lift point, how much breaker to use or anything. So that's what you.
Was there practice?
No.
So your first time in a
first
cup car at
lap
Martinsville was
qualifying, baby.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
You just take a guess at it, like what he run there at the Clash, and you're like, okay, we're going to be somewhat close to this, and this ought to work, and get the little bit of information you can get and say, okay, let's get it.
Did we have practice? I think we had practice.
You did have
now
some
that I
practice.
think about it, I think we did have some practice.
Well, I think what
But
it
it was
was
limited.
is I wasn't there.
You wasn't there. That's
I had
what
a
it was.
super race on the day
Tony
before.
wasn't there for practice. That's
So
what it was.
I was at a super race, so I flew in that morning for Sunday morning, and then they picked me up at the airport and drove me straight to Martinsville.
Yeah.
okay.
That's what it was.
then
We
they were
did
like-
have a practice, but it was, but like,
We had a 15-minute debrief and
Yeah.
said, it's doing this, and this, do what you can.
yeah. Like I said, I got to go to the sim, but it was
Was it static?
it's no different than Slate's iRacing thing upstairs, right? And then when I go to GM and I'm burping it when I shift, and they're like, "Why? We notice a blip. Are you burping it when you shift?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And they say, "Oh, you don't have to do that." Oh, okay. So then I get to go to RCR to the sim, and I'm not burping it. And the dude's like, "Why are you not? You gonna have to burp it when you shift?" I was like, "Man, y'all make your mind up."
Yeah.
Like, one guy says yes, one guy says no. Excuse me. So then when we get to the racetrack, the guys with RCR come up, the motor program, the tuner, he's like, "Well, we got this thing now where you don't have to burp it." All right. So it was all just, well, which we knew that.
Right.
I knew that. I knew that at Martinsville, obviously you want to be competitive as possible, but my goal was to get to experience it, get to run a cup race, for Mike Joy to talk about me a little bit on the pace laps and to not mention my name again.
Right.
And that's kind of what happened. So
Yeah. Did what was the deal with your nub?
all right. So I
We'll just
could
keep that
have,
amongst friends, what we said.
well, I did say that. I did say that on the radio. So I could have possibly told a fib to a few people, okay? Because I didn't want to get into the details. But you're shifting. at Martinsville, right? And it's the sequential. So it's not just a up and back. It's and so the switch panel, if this is the shifter, if it's a Lonnie can is the shifter, and the switch panel is right here. All right, so I'm give you a little background on Bert, right? So at 7 years old, I lost the tip of my finger on my left hand. So when I grab something, I grab like this. I don't use that finger. Well, I have a tendency to do it with this hand. So when I grab something, I don't use that finger. I do this. So when Bert's shifting,
I would have loved to have had an in-car camera on this.
I guess what Bert did
Your booger picker hit
is
the
one of
switch.
the times that I downshifted, I hit the ignition switch. Didn't realize it. When I get in the gas and and I'm gassing up and nothing's happening.
Yeah. Transmission's broke.
I said, something's broke. So I pull over and I stop. And they're going to come push me off and everything. And I cranked the car cranked back up.
Yeah.
So they pushed me back to the pit. I put it in gear and it went, well, maybe I'm all right. And Tony said, well, try it. And I drive away and everything's just fine. And then he hit me. It took me a little bit. I told Tony, I said, you're going to kill me.
Yeah, I think it was the next caution. Next caution come out. He did it again. He goes, hey, Tony, I might have just figured out what I did that last time. I apologize. We'll just keep it amongst friends.
Yeah. I said, I'll tell you about it later.
The
But I
engineering.
don't mind telling it. I messed up. I did, I messed up. And I mean, really and truly, at the grand scheme of things, what would it cost us? A spot or two from 30th to 28th. It really wouldn't matter because once they had that long green when we got strung out, and I'm just up there in the upper groove, just staying out of the way. It wouldn't matter.
I had to take my headset off. I was sitting on the pit box. I had to take my headset off because I was hearing, all I heard was your spotter.
Yeah.
Looking low, looking low, looking low, looking low, stay high, stay high. Looking low, looking low.
So they tell you, and we've talked about this before, when you've been a guy that's the leader, you understand when you do if you ever happen to get lapped, you understand how to work it. So you stay in the groove as long as you can, and when the guy gets to you, you know when to give him the spot so that neither one of you lose much time.
Right.
If you've never been that guy, I told you the story one time. We were at a driver's meeting, and I was in Philip's car. We was a late model, and we got lapped. And we were in the way. And I remember in the driver's meeting, the official says, listen, guys, when the leader comes up on you, make sure you give him plenty of room because the shoe will be on the other foot sometime. And it hit me in that race. Not necessarily. Some guys will never have that opportunity to lead, so you don't know how to get out of the way. They tell you how to, it's an art to falling down.
Yeah.
You ever ride dirt bikes and laid it down? There's an art to that. If you know you're going down, there's an art to lay it. Tommy, you can attest to that. There's an art to how you lay that down. Well, there's an art to how you get lapped. And how many times we go to Bowman Gray and you're passing the guy, you're lapping the guy, and they drag race you down the straightaway.
Yeah.
So you can't clear him into one. And all it does is slow both of you down.
Right.
So back up. And he says, leaders 5 back. Run another lap. Leaders 2 back. Good. Leaders to your bumper. Roll up. Give him the spot. He's inside. And the next thing you know, inside. Next thing you know, inside. Still there. It's still there. And then you're thinking, all right, we got to be getting close. And he says, leader's the next car back. I said, God dang, he's already back again. So then it's just a vicious cycle, man. And you're just hanging out in that upper groove, and then there's rubber up there and no rubber up there, and we burned the right front off.
Well, it's like you said, there was nowhere to go.
Nowhere to hide.
You can't hide.
You can't hide.
Nowhere to
So it was, but like I said, I wouldn't have changed it. I wouldn't change nothing. It was, I got to do it.
Life is too short to bypass opportunities.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if you got out there and you were racing these guys and you were 7 laps down trying to be something you're not.
Right.
But, I think you handled it the right way, got everything out of it that you wanted to.
Yeah.
I wish you could have utilized your other suit, which whole nother story. But
You know that suit's missing?
is it really?
Gone. The C3 suit?
The C3 suit?
Gone. Willie can't find it. NASCAR says they don't have it, and I don't have it. So we don't know where it's at. So anyway, if you have my suit, if you have my suit, would you bring it back, please?
Yeah, that's
Nice
a flip
suit.
race.
It's like Tom Brady's jersey got missing. Somebody got it.
Yeah, that'll definitely be in the same conversation.
Yeah, right?
Well, with all the changes going on with NASCAR and everything, what are we were talking earlier about stage breaks. Like, do we like them? Do we not like them? As a fan, I like them for the simple fact I like restarts.
Right.
I can imagine why on your end, somebody sits on the pit box, you wouldn't like them.
Yeah.
And I thought Kyle Busch gave the greatest non-answer when I asked him this. I said, if you were NASCAR CEO or decision maker or whatever for a day, what would you change? And he said nothing, because they change it back the next day.
Right.
Which I thought was a great answer. But if you were designing, or you were going to make some changes to the race program, like race day, what would you change to have a better product?
Yeah, I mean, I like awarding points throughout the race. I think that gets you racing the whole time. And, let's just say that you blow up in the last 100 laps. Well, at least you've got something accomplished from that day, because like in the old point system, it was like it didn't matter but nothing but the finish.
Right.
Where you finished on that last lap is what counted. So the points being awarded throughout the race kind of shows you if you had a dominant car all day, well, you capitalize on everything you can. If you have a dominant car and something happens in the last 50 laps, well, you still, it was a bad day, but you did gain something.
Right.
But the throwing the cautions, I understand it's a TV deal, and hey, this is where we're going to put commercial breaks in and stuff like that. But I would just rather have them freeze the field, lap 100, divvy out the points, keep it going. Because, I mean, there's so much strategy you can do. It's like I told you guys. It's like you could go to Darlington, hey, my driver overdrives it, gets into the fence a little bit, I qualified 32nd. Well, there's no strategy other than what everybody else is doing nowadays.
Yeah.
Before, caution come out at lap 6, I could come down and get tires. Caution come back out at lap 13. The rest of the field comes down. I just went from 32nd to the top 5.
Right.
Now I've got my track position, so now I can start racing like the rest of the guys. And there's none of that anymore. I mean, I remember one Talladega race. We were within one lap of making it 4-stop race, or you had to make it a 5.
Ooh.
Well, all the big horsepower teams had to stop 5 times. There were several of us that were fuel mileage racing and knew we could make it right on the number, but we had to do everything right. Well, that race went caution free.
Ooh.
And there was 4 of us fighting for the win, and we stopped 4 times. Now, if you didn't start your strategy on the first pit stop, you were out of the game the rest of the race. Well, that's strategy that you made up in the truck, and that's where it's, I've always said, like road courses, you either do it backwards or you do it the other way. Most people are going, well, hey, as soon as I can make it, I'm going to stop. I've always said, like, there ain't enough pit stops at a road course.
Yeah.
I mean, you stop twice, 3 times, maybe. That ain't enough time to get the cycle going.
Road course racing used to be some of the most entertaining.
Yeah.
And now it's not.
I've always said that they need to put like a 12-gallon fuel cell at a road course, where you got to stop like 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
Now you're putting in something to mix it up, because if you got, road courses, there ain't but like 3 passing zones. So you're not going to think about the chances of getting to pass, So that's the thing I would do. I think, I'm kind of like Mark Martin on this one. I think the prestige of the championship is nowhere near what it used to be back in the early 90s. When you can put 35 race weekends together, that's impressive. And, have wrecks and have accidents, and you can go out there and make up the points that you need, to where now it's like, okay, just be good at the last 10.
Well,
Well, either that or the other side to that, and I'm listening to you talk, it made me think, if you're a Christopher Bell that's already won 3 races, and the next race comes up, and halfway through the race, you get a bump up that takes you out of competition, what are you fighting for now?
Yeah.
You just, we're nowhere in the chase. We won 3 races already. We're good.
Yeah, well, that's what ends up happening. You win one
Instead
of them
of-
first 26.
Right.
Yeah, you want some stage points, but at the end of the day, I'm locked in.
Yeah.
At the main goal, where, what everybody wanted was like, hey, wins, what was important. So that's why the win, you're in.
Yeah.
But it turns into, all right, win 1, chill out.
Yeah.
Go testing, do whatever you need to do during the race
Let's
day.
try this this week.
Let's try this week. We'll try this next week. Like, we ain't got to be real until we get to the last 10.
Yeah.
And then we'll see how the luck goes for 10 races.
Yeah.
We'll try your luck on 35.
Yeah.
Be a
Well,
little different.
and on the other side of that too, I've said this before, I don't agree with a system to where the year that Harvick won 9 races and then got knocked out of the chase, or you take a guy that hypothetically, a guy could win 35 races and then have a part failure on lap 2 of the finale and not win the championship.
Yep.
Now, how can you call that guy a champion that did
the best
win
that year? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not, to me, that's not a champion.
I mean,
a champion is the guy who does it all year.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give him credit. The 104 car at the stadium this year. We had the best car all year long. We won 5 races, 5 poles, led the most laps, fastest lap of the year, cleaned house, but had 3 DNFs.
Right.
And we lost the championship. The
Yeah.
104 car had 0 DNFs, and he won the championship. He deserved the championship this year.
Yeah. Well,
He deserved it.
Just go through and look at what the average finishes was.
Right.
Like on all 35. I mean, back in mid-90s, late 90s, I mean, you're talking 4.5,
Yeah.
3.2. Like, you had to be on your game every week. It ain't just whenever you thought you
What
could
is it
go
now,
good.
you think?
Oh, I'd say it's probably in the high,
Teens?
close to teens.
Yeah.
10,
you know?
10 or 12, something like that.
Because I mean, it's just, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the old deal. I like strategy in racing, being able to do something, make something happen from the pit box, not just putting it all on the driver's shoulders. Is like you're sitting up there, well, you might as well be thinking about something to do.
Yeah.
How to make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, I know with, crew chiefs, and every crew chief's different. And back to us really enjoying the creative engineering stuff. Do you remember a time when you were starting out crew chiefing, or you were getting some decision-making authority, and you came up with something that nobody else had come up with, and you were like, yeah, we got this.
Yeah.
And you put it in.
Yeah.
What's it like when you, we talk about shower thoughts all the time. Like, you come up with some of your greatest things in the
right.
shower. Yeah. Like, when you come up with this stuff, are you just like super excited to get it implemented? But then how do you keep it quiet?
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part is trying to keep it quiet. It's like, we always try. I mean, we had the Colbine Springs that we come up with. I still keep that picture downstairs, and it's like, I had Michael, which Michael would do anything. Like when we were with Dale Jr., it was more like change 25 here, just a little bit here. Kind of stayed very consistent to the setups. Or when I got with Michael, he'd be like, well, I want to put an 800-pound spring in the right rear. He said, why not a 12? He just opened my mind up to like, just go big,
Right.
go make a change.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
let's
saying,
try
yeah,
something,
yeah.
and that was a lot of fun with that, so we'd done the coal binding thing, started that out. I think I went to Atlanta, and I got a picture downstairs, and the car is coming through the travel, and it probably ain't 3/4 of an inch off the ground, and every cup car in the garage is 5 inches off the ground
Right.
behind it. And it was just like, just trying to do it. I remember Ronnie Crooks coming up to me, and he goes, dude, you had me in a board meeting for 5 days in a row. People had pictures of your car wanting to know
But
what
that's the
you
greatest
done and how you
compliment.
did it. And I said, I know, wasn't it cool?
Yeah.
But I mean, just like Daytona cars. I mean, when I went to Hendricks, they had a file of nothing but the 8-car pictures, trying to figure out what we were doing and how we were doing it, and like you say, that's makes you feel good.
Means
Yeah.
you're doing
You're
your
doing
job.
your job.
Yes, sir.
We had did a deal, and I still laugh about it today. You can Google it up. When Danica ran Montreal and she was leading the race, they had that shoe on the back straightaway. And what happened was a pinion shim come out. Well, the car started moving around. She's like, my steering box is falling off. And I'm like, how's the steering box falling off? Well, she had hit the track bar in qualifying. So I'm thinking the track bar is breaking off. Well, if you go back and pull that up on a video, you'll see that car coming down the back straightaway through the S's. And that shoe's in the middle of the racetrack. Well, that car is probably an inch off the ground. Well, every car behind it is 4 inches. Well, that was the first time that we had tried pigtailing. We had done it at Montreal, and we'd done it at Road America. And I basically just started playing with it because that's an old rear steer, like how the spring set on it. So we started getting the pigtail, and I've been working on it every week. I worked on it a little bit. So when I went to Road America, I was like, Pops, I said, you want me to fix your car up? I said, because I'm going to try this when I get up there. I said, because I'm telling you, everything I see, this is going to be bad to the bone. Because Ron Fellows always told us that I want a 350-pound spring for down the straightaways and the arrow. He said, but I need a 1,000-pound spring so I can jump the ripple or jump the curbs. Mm. He said, when you hit it with a Colbine spring, he said, it just shoves you out across the racetrack. So that's what I was trying to work on. Well, when I put that pigtail in there, well, it give you both worlds. And the car would ride low. Well, she went out. I think we were P5 first time out, just regular stuff. And I put those pigtails in. We went to the top of the sheet. And she come back in, and she goes, that's amazing. She says, I can brake 2 car lengths deeper. I can hit the curbs. She says, this is amazing. So I was like, all right, we're going to run this.
Yeah.
So we ended up running. Well, Fellow's seen it, and he's like, you're putting that in there. So I put my car in line in inspection and went over and rebuilt Pops' car, put that stuff in there for Fellows. And we go out there and we both run the top 4 all day, just running good. And I think that's when Villeneuve took Danica out, wrecked her. And Fellows, he was out there, and I think he finished up second. Well, we go to tech. Well, they always take your springs out to make sure, hey, your spring ain't too tall, whatever. And it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And you're talking about how it gets out. Well, this is how it gets out. So they pulled the top 5 over there. Pops is over there, and I'm giving him crap. I'm like, you couldn't win the race, da-da-da-da. Well, everybody's bringing their springs up, and they all set these 350 Colbine springs up there. Well, here comes Pops across there with a pair of 3000s. We had a 3000 Hypercool springs, and he walks up there and sets them 2 on there, and you should have seen the crew chief's eyes, and the engineers are like, and I mean, and that's how it starts.
There it is.
Once it's laid out there, everybody's like, how did they do that and keep it on the ground like that, and so, but stuff like that, I mean, you try to keep it as quiet as you can for as long, but there's too many bars at these NASCAR races, It's like there's too many people looking around and seeing what you're doing, loose lips,
sink
and
ships,
Yep. So it's like, it's like, what was the old saying? Everybody talk a little less, everybody get a little more.
right?
Yeah.
And so that was just one of them.
The way you
deals.
got to look at it is if you got by with it for 5 races,
Yeah.
that's the way you got to look at it.
You didn't ever
You can't be mad whenever it finally comes up.
Don't
Because
you
you be
got-
like, all right, well, we got by with it
Look,
5 races.
There's people in the garage that they'll go tell on you in a minute. They'll run right over to the inspector or whatever. You didn't ever have to worry about that with me. Because if I seen you with something on
Yeah,
your
boy.
car, well, guess what? There's 2 of us going to have
Yes,
it.
sir. You better believe it.
Yeah, and when we both get caught, then we'll get caught. But it's like we're going to race each other with it.
Right.
Yep.
Well, that's
Yep.
one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, have you ever been walking through, the pits and, you're kind of looking at everything, maybe you're scouting, maybe you're doing recon, whatever, and you see something. And then that crew chief sees that you see it. Do y'all have like that quick eye contact? Like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'm like, all right, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's part of it.
I don't think
mean,
I've ever went and told an official
No, and
on
that's
anybody.
No, and that's
I've never went and said, hey, you need to go look at that. He's doing this.
No.
I say, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you look and learn.
Yep.
It's like you watch what other people are doing. I mean, you can pick up on it and you'd be like, okay, there's 2 of us going to race for this one.
Right.
That's right.
I mean,
That's
I'm
right.
okay with it,
Couple more steps. How's it going? Are you me? Yeah, I'm you from the future. Well, hold on, let me shoot this deer real quick. Yeah, that deer's gonna wind you because you didn't use your limit shield. Told you so. Anyway, I got a jet. Just remember to use your limit shield. Oh yeah, and if Mike asks you to go to Tijuana, don't go.
when you were at the height of your career, who was if there was one, the one crew chief that you wanted to beat worse than anybody?
I mean, I guess it would,
I think I know who you're going to say. I'll be curious to see if I'm right.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of them out there, but I mean,
And it doesn't mean because you dislike them. I mean,
No.
it's
just
actually
like
a compliment.
when we first started bush racing, I thought the world of Ray Abraham. I looked at the way he did things, and he made a couple comments, and he's like, you don't have to know everything, but you got to be surrounded by people that know it all.
100%.
So it's like that just keeps you, and so that's what you try to do. You try to surround yourself with people that are as good and got the same passion that you have and are good at what they do, and let them do their job.
Mm-hmm.
And all you try to do is orchestrate it. And that's, and I always looked at it, he tried to come back and run like a Michigan, I think it's Busch Series back then, race with Jeff Gordon, and it was just like, that was a pride weekend. We ended up beating him. They were in the Pepsi 24, but it was just like, I got to race somebody that I really admired, and, hey, I want to beat this team. Because, back then,
Yeah.
Jeff was on his game.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like you stood up for races like that. There was, different races at Richmond, where Burton would come in there and run, and you knew you were going to have to race that 9 car, and it was like, I was like, all right, we'll stand up and make it happen. But it's those kind of rivalries, they make it fun.
Yeah.
And I think Matt Kenseth, and the DeWalt team. I mean, we run each other for 2 years there, and we went to the championship both times with each other. We actually flew them on our plane out there so we could have a good time because the two teams were we were so close of friends in the garage that we enjoyed racing each other. It made each one of you bring your level of game up.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you want to do. You just want to keep raising the bar. And as long as you keep doing that, you never walk into a racetrack and go, you know what, I think I'll run 10th today. You know, it's going to be a mediocre weekend. I just don't feel it this weekend. I mean, you never do. You walk in and pumping your chest and saying, I'm the best one that's going to be in here,
right.
and you're coming out of here. I had a guy, it was right at the end of the Bud days. I think we were at Talladega. We were leading. Car blew up. I think it was one of my last weekends at DEI, and I'm sitting out there on the plane waiting on everybody to get there. I'm back there with my Snoop Doggy on, you know, that's the bottom of my head, and that guy, my tire guy, looks back at me and he goes, what is wrong with you? You back here happy, smiling? And he goes, we just blew up and fell out of the race. Like, why are you not mad? And I looked back at him and I said, hey, what is mad going to get
right.
accomplished?
Right.
I said, it ain't going to fix nothing. I said, was we leading when it blew up? He goes, yeah. I said, I did my job.
That's right.
I done everything I can do. I didn't bolt the motor together.
Yep.
I said, I hate it happen.
Yeah.
I said, but that's just one of them things that's dealt with you. And I said, it's on to the next one.
Yeah.
You know, because
gotta-
I think that was one of the biggest things that I regret is like, your race wins, they're over that night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially with the Cup deal. It's like you race on Sunday, you go win that race. You better enjoy yourself right then because Monday's a new week.
Yep.
It's on to the next track. So, you know, you didn't really get to enjoy. You know, so many times my wife's like, oh, where'd you go this weekend? Like it's a holiday when you go out to these race weekends. You know, like, oh, you went and got to see the stratosphere. And like, oh, you went and seen all this stuff. It's like, no, I seen the racetrack and I seen that plane.
Right.
You know, I was back and forth and that was it.
I saw
you
it
know?
from the window of the airplane.
Right. You know, it's like I told him, I said, as many times as I've been to Vegas, I don't think I've ever been to the old strip.
Wow.
To this day.
Really?
And they're like, you didn't go out? I'm like, no. I said, I focused on what I was
Well, you're
doing.
not out there for a trade show. You're out there to do what you have to do to win.
Right.
Big
You know,
difference.
and if you lose that mindset of like what you're doing and where you're going, I mean, you can go out. Half the time I didn't go out to dinner. You know, we'd go out to dinner with the guys sometimes, but most of the time it's so packed that you're just trying to grab something on the way back to just get in the room and just because you've been working 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know, so it was, you know, I mean, there's things like that, and that's kind of one of the things like life, like I want to go do,
Right.
You know, and just go see some of those things and enjoy it, you know.
I thought you were going to say Chad Knaus, just because at the time, and Hendrick still is dominant, but at the time they were on it.
Oh,
and-
Chad. I'll tell you what, Chad is he's a very good crew chief. Like I've liked Chad. You know, me and Chad was one of them. Like he's straight by the book. Like he's pretty professional all the time. Where you know we were kind of
I don't know, straight by the book.
Yeah, we were kind of more in that. Well, Chad was one of them that he wanted to be at the top of the sheet, qualifying, practice, and race. You know, and I think a lot of times that's what got him in trouble. Was like he'd go to Talladega, well, he'd have everything he had thrown at it. Well, you know, they only write a check one time.
Yeah.
So why I want to go through there and show my hand on the other 2 times that I go through there?
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like if I'm going to push the envelope on something, I'm going to push it one time, and that's payday.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to go through there. I could care less where I qualify. You know, I could care less where I'm at in practice. Like I know when it comes game day, that's when I got to be right.
Right.
You know, and so, and I think that's a couple times like he had to win the deal. I think everybody in the garage had to win the deal that would raise the back glass. He had it on the track bar to where you could run it up.
Yeah.
Well, he was the only one that was going to run it the whole practice.
Yeah.
You know, so they look by and they're looking at the window and they're going, oh, we got to look at that. Well, when everybody seen him getting caught, everybody else was taking theirs off.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's like, but that's the nature of the beast. I mean, you watch the officials. I mean, you've always done that. You know, you watch what the officials check, you watch what they don't check. You know, and there's your gray area.
That's right.
I'd heard a story, third or fourth hand, about a tire stagger story y'all had at testing one time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Will you explain that story?
So we had this, it was probably in 98, I believe it was. We went down to Homestead to test for the championship race. And, you know, we got a couple sets of tires. I had a tire guy with me, and, you know, we're sitting there and we were tight tight. And Dale Jr.'s like, man, he said, I'm just telling you. He goes, it feels like this car, like the tire staggers backwards on this car. He said, it goes down pit road and it turns to the right. I'm like, well, there's a stack of tires there. So I went over and took a tape. No, it's got an inch. Well, I never looked at the labels on it. Well, we went out there, and I mean, I'm doing everything I can to make it turn, and I finally got it turning. I had a rear bar on it. I had everything you could think about. And you're like, this is just crazy, the setup that I got in here. And so we blistered the right side tire and made a long run, like 35 laps. We blistered the right rear. And so tire guy goes, he's tire changing at Phoenix. So he flies out to Phoenix for the tire change. He goes over to Goodyear engineer and he says, well, what are you going to do about that tire that's blistering at Homestead? He said, what are you talking about? They shouldn't be blistering no tires. And he goes, well, we blistered one. Yeah, we run that 35. And that guy goes, 35 on the right side? And he goes, yeah. He goes, that's a left side tire. And so he calls me up and he goes, hey, I got some bad news and I don't know how to tell this to Pops. He said, Pops is going to kill me. I said, what's that? He goes, I had them tires on backwards down there at Homestead. I said, are you kidding me? I walked out there to the car. Sure enough, they still on it like that.
But you still got that thing to turn?
Still got it to turn with an inch of staggered wrong way.
Yeah, but what happens when you put them back the other way?
And he goes, well, I don't know how to go tell this to Pops. I said, well, let me see what I can do. So I walked in there and Pops was at his office and I said, hey, Pops. I said, you got a minute? He goes, yeah. I said, well, you want the good news or the bad news? And he goes, what are you talking about, Junior? Just tell me what you got. I said, well, I'm going to tell you the bad news first. He said, what's that? I said, Fuller had our tires on backwards at Homestead. He goes, da, 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 da. I mean, he went to lighting us up right then. I'm going to fire him when he gets back. And I said, well, here's the good news. We got it turning in. It's really going to turn out.
That's right.
I said, we ain't got no turning problem no more. We're fixed with that.
Turn and walk out.
I said, you ain't got to worry about that. She's going to turn on the dime now.
That's awesome. And when he's telling that, I'm sitting here thinking, I hope Smokey watches this.
Yeah, right.
I really hope Smokey watches this. Smokey does his tires, and he's a good dude.
But, I mean, it's just like one of them things, though. I mean, it's like I said, you got Pops 40 years old, and we're all 23 and under. And Pops is just like, these kids are going to kill me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, but, I mean, if we all had the passion that Pops has got to win, you know, that's the one thing that I adore of him is like, he's got more passion than anybody I've ever been to want to win a race. You know, when he walks in there, he's walking in there to win, and that's it. Nothing that second ain't even good. I mean, I think the first time I went to Junior Motorsports, we went to with Dale Jr. to Atlanta, and, you know, I was supposed to be just an owner, just, hey, just watch, whatever, and I'm sitting there, and Dale Jr. goes out there, and he's like, it's hitting the ground. It ain't doing this, ain't doing that. And I think Campy was crew chiefing at the time, and I was like, Dale Jr. comes up to me and says, fix this thing. And I'm like, okay. So I went to Campy. I'm like, hey, let's do this. We go out for the next practice. He makes a 30-lap run. We went and made a mock run. Car was loose. He didn't even do nothing but go into turn 3 and turn down pit road. He goes, this thing's so loose, I can't drive it. I'm like, okay. I said, we'll change this air pressure and we'll go. Well, we set on a pole. And so set on a pole, run the race. Well, I think we run third. That's when Harvick was so dominant, you know, down there. So we run in third all night. Keselowski's with Pops, and he's running 5th to 6th all night. He could come on a long run, but we could get him on the short run. And we get there, and I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm like, there's going to be another pit stop, but we're 6 laps short. So I just keyed up the radio, and I'm like, just start doing what you did at Michigan. You know, and what he'd do is he'd run half throttle down the straightaways, and it would just save fuel like crazy. I'm like, if we can get all these guys to commit to pit under 10 laps, they can never catch us. If they pit 12 laps before the end, they'll probably catch us at the end. But if I can get them to where they ain't pitted by lap 10 to go, we'll win this race because we can just slow down as far as we want. Well, as soon as we started slowing down, we started backing up. I looked down there, and I was watching Ernie down there on his cope, on his pit box, and he's looking at times, and he's looking around, and you could see him like he's trying to figure out what's going on, and he hollered pit. Well, that was lap 13 to go. And he pitted, and we took the lead, and Harvick passed us on the white flag lap.
Oh, man.
You know, so I think we ended up, the 2 caught us with tires and all, and we finished third. And I'll never forget, Pops was over there, you know, he finished 5th, and I think we were sitting there in the garage, and, you know, I'm happy. I mean, set on a pole, run third, You know, first time being over at Junior Motorsports, I'm happy. And Pops is like, what do you think? I said, well, I had a pretty good weekend, you know. He goes, I don't think you did your job.
Well,
And I said, well, I outrun you all weekend, you know, just like that. And he got so mad. But it was just, but his point was, is like, I brought you here to win the race, win the pole,
Right.
and everything.
Right.
And that's what he expected. And he expected that all the time. And it's like, he puts a drive in you to constantly, like you're talking about, coming up with something. Like, come up with the next thing. Get done with that, come up with the next. Like, you always got to have an edge. You can never just sit there and just do the same thing over and over and over.
Right.
People catch you up, they pass you by. So you got to constantly keep innovating, keep making your setups better, shock, springs, whatever. You know, that's what you got to continue to do.
What was Earnhardt Sr.'s position on creative engineering, borderline on cheating?
He would fire you if he caught you cheating. Like, if you blatantly were cheating, he'd fire you. So it was like, but if you were pushing the rules, like if you were pushing what I always looked at it like, and when you go through tech, they've got officials there. Well, if that official can sit there and look at something and he has to make a decision whether it's right or wrong. So he's either going to let you go with it or he's not. And that's what I call the gray area.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if that template don't fit perfect, but that guy sits there and goes, well, I'm okay with it. And he takes it, well, you won.
yeah.
You know, and that's what it is. Like, you don't just go out there and just blatantly,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to lower the back of the car a half an inch and we're going to go fast.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
anybody can do that.
Right.
You know, it's like they do that at the Daytona testing all the time. You'd see people on their sponsorship and they needed a sponsor. Well, they just lower the back of the car down 3/4, go put a lap up, and there you go. So,
Yeah, we're fast in practice. You need to be on our car.
right. But you just to do something blatantly cheating,
Yeah.
like Big E, he would fire you. Big E was too close with the France family. You know, like he'd go down there and you know, in the wintertime, and they would discuss what they needed to change. What the maddest I ever got with Big E was, we're at Talladega with Steve Park. We're testing. Well, that was back in the day when you was doing 11-inch frame rails and all this stuff, doing bump stops. Well, we'd been at Talladega for 3 days testing. Well, Big E never tested any of his cars. Petrie was crew chief and him. Well, they're down there with Dave Marcus. Well, that back them days, you'd get a 16-inch, 75-pound spring, and you put it in the back of the car, and they were just all squatted down, and it was all about clearance, pipe clearance, this and that. Well, Big E shows up last day, last test before Daytona. He comes up, and he's supposed to come down there and drive it. Well, he comes down there. What y'all boys doing? Well, we're trying to get this thing down. We may have to cut the frame rail out when we get home, yada, yada, yada. And he goes down there, gets in his car, cranks it up, drives out on pit road, pulls down there to the end, stops, fires it up, gonna make a mock run. He drove from there to turn 1, shut it off. And we're all standing there going, well, did it blow up?
Yeah.
What happened? He comes rolling back in there, put the motor off. He pulls up in that garage, drops the window net, and he told Andy, he says, you can get this junk out of my car. You ain't knocking the fillings out of my teeth. He says, and Andy's like, Dale, this is what you got to run if you're going to run fast. He goes, I ain't running it. You can forget it. I ain't driving nothing that drives that rough. He goes, I'm telling you right now, I ain't driving that. And Andy said, well, if you're going to be fast, that's what you're going to do. He goes, okay, I'll fix this. And he got out of that race car and walked up into the tractor trailer, got on one of them bag phones and called Bill France and told him if he didn't change the rules before February, he wouldn't be there. And then within 2 hours, there was a bulletin out that you had to run a mandatory 350-pound spring.
Hey, that's horsepower right there.
And that's what I'm talking. And everybody laughs because like you ain't got nothing like that no more.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how much like his influence to telling Bill France Sr. like what was going on and what needed to happen. He was there. Well, we've lost that contact ever since then. You know, there's nobody that's took that place. It's like everybody said, if you want to know if the race is going to be called because of rain, just watch Big E's car. Just watch him because when he left, it was over.
Right.
You know, because he was going to be the first one to the airport or whatever. But those kind of things. But I told him, I said, couldn't you just show up at like 3 days earlier?
right.
Or I wouldn't be down here
All that
working
for
for 2.5 days for nothing. But stuff like that, you think about it after the fact, and it's just like, he was the deal.
Yeah.
You know, he had the horsepower to make stuff happen, and and he made sensible stuff. Like,
Yeah, it wasn't stuff-
we all didn't need to be down there on 75-pound springs
Right.
running 200 mile an hour and something bottom out, and
Right.
we didn't need to be, because what was happening was the frame rails were coming up so high that the halo was still staying low, where there wasn't enough room in there for the driver,
Yeah.
and that was where the problem was going to end up. And so, making that decision and for him to go in there and make that call, it was the right call.
Yeah.
But it just aggravated everybody because you probably had 9 days of testing throughout the winter of
See,
trying
I
to
can
get it
see
that
where
way.
somebody might say, a Bill Elliott fan listening to us right now, well, they catered to Dale Earnhardt. Well, the fact of it is it was what was best for the series.
Right.
Yeah.
And see, we deal with that now. Is I don't think, and I can say this to this day, any advice or any opinion or any suggestion that I've made with the Smart Series is best for the group. And a lot of the competitors don't believe that. They believe if it comes from me, it's because I'm looking for an advantage. But if I make a suggestion, I feel like it's what's best for the group, not best for me.
Yeah.
So I can see where somebody would say, well, they just catered it. I learned, no, he knew what he was talking about.
Right.
He knew that this ain't the path we need to go down.
Yeah.
Well,
You
but
need to stop right now. Let's reevaluate this.
Right.
So
And I think
I can relate to that.
I think if there were less people involved in the decision making, that would probably be received a lot
Well,
better.
it's not
like
just
with
that.
them, it was just one to one,
Right.
But now, and it's everywhere. It's not just Smart. I mean, it's everywhere.
Well,
There's so many people afraid to make a decision.
Well, the
that it
problem
becomes a
is
community
is
decision.
Yeah.
I got to be careful. The
Chapter
group,
7 of the book.
Yeah, the group. Sadly, the group that's making the most noise is the group that's making the suggestion to benefit themselves. And what happens is they make so much noise. Like when your kid goes on and 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 on, and you're like, fine, whatever. You know that ain't the right decision
Right.
to make. Fine, you can have the cookie, just hush.
Right.
And I think they're in racing, we deal with a lot of that. And sadly, that's the problem. But with Smart, it's so tricky, man. Bowman Gray is what it is. Bowman Gray, you just ain't even need to discuss how it operates. But with Smart, a lot of the guys that try to influence the decision makers are doing it for their own benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they find out it's the wrong decision. Example, you'll relate to this. 2 years ago, about 3 weeks before the first race at Florence, the official and race director for Smart come to the shop, and they're taking motors or doing something pre-race, pre-season. And they said, we're not going to allow bump stops anymore. Coal mining or bump stops. In Southern modified racing, as long as I can remember, we've had an open suspension rule. Smart's rule was open suspension rule. The only thing, you couldn't have canisters, and you couldn't have but one shock and spring per corner.
Right.
That was the only rule we had.
Yeah.
So they came in and they said, no more bump stops or coal mining. Why not? Well, we just feel like it's not the way to go. I said, well, you got to understand, people are already doing it. So what difference does it make? So I go over, and at the time I'm around 1,000 and a 900. I said, take it from somebody that's not bump stopping or coal mining. You're making the wrong call. So you see what I run. So
Right.
You're going to hurt somebody else. You're not going to hurt me. But that is not the right call to make. Well, we just feel like with, the things the way they are now, that we need to get away from that. What it amounted to is the NASCAR Welling Tour doesn't allow it, and they were trying to get in line with that.
Right.
I said, you're going to outkick your coverage again. How many times have we talked about this?
Yeah.
You're going to say you can't coal mine or bump stop. Now you got to get somebody to check it,
Right.
right? Teams that already went to Florence and tested with coal mine and bump stops. I said, so you're hurting them guys, not me. Burt Myers as a racer only, I'm thinking, heck yeah. Yeah, you're doing the right thing. Don't let them coal mine or bump
Right.
stop, because that's what I'm racing against.
Yeah.
The next year they said, yeah, we're going to allow that again.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I was looking out for Burt Myers. I was looking out. I'm telling you, that's not the right call to make
Right.
as a group. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times that what it amounted to is they were getting influence from somebody else that this was the wrong thing to do. You shouldn't have it this way. When it all came down to it, it was the wrong call,
Right.
because they backed it up the next year.
And-
I said, yeah, you can do it again. So
The best racing in the world's got the least amount of rules. If somebody tells you they're going to save you money, don't make rules.
don't make rules.
Because rules are going to make people spend
Rules
money
ruin
and do
racing.
it.
They'll ruin racing.
So the least amount that you have, I mean, you got to keep things in perspective. But the less rules you have. I mean, that's the thing about Bowman Gray. Bowman Gray is Bowman Gray. But it's a simple fact of you can just go up there and you race. If you get beat, you go home and work on your stuff and you come back with something better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like the there that whole deal of making rules and rules and rules, and then that's like you say, that's more stuff you got to police. That's more stuff you got to watch. And now you got to have more officials. It's going to take more time to get through tech. That's one thing that I'll like the past series up north. I mean, that's one thing I'll get you. Like, you can go through inspection when you get there. When it's time to qualify, they just push them out on pit road. They go qualify. When you get done qualifying, they roll across the scales. If you ain't right, you're out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like well, now most of these late model deals, I mean, I feel like we go through inspection 3 times.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Yeah.
Like, make the rule. Car's got to weigh this. You're responsible for it after qualifying. If you don't meet it, bye.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. I think when Gadget started working for the Smart Tour, I told him, because he's a nice guy, like great official, pays attention, sees stuff. But it's like I told him, don't go in there and try to change the culture.
Yeah.
I said, leave it alone. And I said, but don't be scared to throw somebody out. The biggest problem in racing right now is they're scared to throw people out.
Yeah.
And it's like, if it's in black and white and it says this is what the rule, throw them out. Like, you'll fix it. Like, I mean, we've all, done something. I've got thrown out at Talladega because my roof was too low. Okay. You go back to the truck. Well, you'll make sure it ain't low the next time.
Right.
But it's like, that's what you kind of do. You put the responsibility back on the team to make sure their stuff's right. It'll take care of itself.
Yeah, we've had a couple things, and I think Gadget is trying to find where he belongs.
Right.
Right. He's trying to find his lane. Beginning of the year, they came out, which was a stupid rule. Another thing that was uncalled for, that they had listened to somebody they shouldn't have. They came up with a 7,800 chip rule. Everybody had to run a 7,800 chip. Well, a spec motor can't turn but 8,000 anyway.
Right.
And we've never had a gear rule, never had a chip rule. Why now? Well, they
Right.
listen to somebody they shouldn't. So they go around and hand out 8,000 or 7,800 chips. Chris comes by with a little bag and hands me 2 7,800 chips for me and Slate. I said, what's this for? Got a 7,800 chip rule. Okay, well, I think it's stupid, but all right. So we put them in the car. After the race, Slate finishes 4th. They bring top 3 to the impound. And one of the officials comes over and says, you need to keep this car right here. Like, we got a major infraction with one of the cars in the top 3. Like, okay, whatever. Come to find out, the car that finished 3rd had an 8,000 chip in. I said, oh, okay, well, he's got 8,000 chip. Y'all
You're
sent out an amendment.
All right.
7,800, passing out chips.
Yeah.
They said, well, we didn't check the chip before the race to make sure that it had the right chip in it, so they didn't throw him out.
Yeah.
Why make a rule then?
Yeah.
It's not a rule
thing-
if it's not enforced.
Another thing that
Yeah.
happened this weekend. Apparently, Double H was trying to bump stop the right rear of the O2 car this past weekend at Dominion. Well, they've allowed bump stops again. They've allowed coal binding again or whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
great. We didn't know anything about it. We have the driver's meeting, and then before the driver's meeting over, Gadget comes up and says, guys, I just want to remind you that the rule book says XYZ about bump stops. It says it can't be but a 1-inch thick polyurethane, blah, 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 with Packers, and that's all you can have in there. Like, well, first of all, if it says it in the rule book, why do you have to announce it in the driver's meeting?
Right.
So we go over. I didn't know it was Double H. He's parked right beside us, and I see him Gadget over looking at it. It looked like to me what Harold had done. Instead of running this many Packers, he had a plastic spacer in there because he
Right.
knew he needed that many Packers.
Right.
The bump stop was still polyurethane 1-inch thick. Well, Gadget saw that in there. Well, I think what happened is somebody else saw it,
Right.
went to Gadget, and now Gadget's going over there doing that. Here's the deal. If it's in the rule book, and we all know it's in the rule book, you don't have to address it every week. Okay. And you don't have to check it before the race.
Yeah.
Okay. If it says I got to run an 830 carburetor and you check my carburetor and it's 830 at my shop, and then you don't check my carburetor the whole time we're at the racetrack and I win the race and it ain't an 830,
Bye.
It ain't because it's your fault. And you know how many times I've heard the officials say that? Well, it was our fault because we didn't check it before the race. No. You said we had to run it. You put it in the rule book. If it's wrong at the end of the night, it's wrong.
That's
bottom line.
That's it.
And so I think Gadget is trying to find his lane. And Gadget, I don't know Gadget like you do. Gadget seems like to me, don't want to make anybody mad.
Yeah,
He don't want to cause him problems. And the bottom line is, we've talked about Lance Childress back in the old days of Caraway. As a tech man, he's a butthole, but he's the same butthole to everybody.
Yeah, and
Same
that's what you
butthole.
don't
And
mind.
that's all I want.
That's
all I want.
I've
Be
always
the
said
same
that.
guy every time to everybody.
Yeah,
So,
I've told this a many a times. That was one of the things with the Cars Tour last year. I told Kip Childress, I'm like, look, I said, I've come to North Wilkesboro 3 times, and you have yet to took the carburetor off. As racers, we like tech.
yeah.
Like, we like tech, and it's like, I want to see you tech in the cars. The more tech that you do, like if it's after qualifying, whenever, but you want to see that guy that'll throw you out, keep everybody, because then you know everybody's honest.
Right.
If you're not going to do that, well, then we just leave us alone, and we'll be Bowman Gray, and we'll just go on, and we'll all police ourselves at some point or another. But don't worry about it.
It's funny because I don't want to get into the details about it, but I was talking to a guy Monday about a race coming up and talking about the rules procedures for this particular race. Well, we're not quite sure. 390 carburetors. And they said, well, is it going to be like, we're going to have the Bowman Gray 390 carburetors? Or we're like, well, what's the deal here, right? Well, it may just be, as long as it's a 390, that's all that matters. I said, is that what you're telling me? All I need to know is that the rule? Just tell me, because it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I don't care if it's full-blown tour legal 390 or whatever 390 you want to run. I don't care. Just set the rule and make sure everybody goes by it.
Right.
Yeah.
The problem I have is when they say, well, it's going to be a tour legal 390, and then we show up and they ain't checking carburetors.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah. At one time, Bert
I
pulled
know, I
that.
got mine.
He pulled that 390 out of the carburetor at the stadium one time, and I was like, "What is that?" He goes, "Oh, that's 390 carburetor. We can run it up here." And I'm like, "Good God!" I mean, you just look at it and you're like, "Unbelievable," you know.
Well, see, here's the thing.
You're tapered. You're doing whatever the rules allow.
The bottom line is on the NASCAR at the time. Now, I will say that Bowman Gray carburetors now are in line, and they check them every week. They at least, if you've got the seal, and they don't have the little lead seals you mash anymore.
Right.
They got the good cable seal that when you cut it, it frays. I mean, so I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, right? Because as a racer, if you can get by with something, they are too.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So all I ask is to make sure I can't get by with it.
Yeah.
That way I know they can't get by with it. So back in the day of the Bowman Gray carburetors, if you had a Bowman Gray carburetor, it wouldn't even come close to passing on the NASCAR Tour.
Right.
But they only had 3 gauges, and that's the 3 gauges they used at the stadium,
Right.
and it passed all 3 gauges. That's not cheating, people.
No.
That is not cheating. That's following the rules that they set in front of you.
Right.
Yeah. Okay? What happened is about 5 years, well, it's been about 3 or 4 years ago, we were running a certain carburetor that we had some work done to. We've been running it for years. Well, the tech man had got wind of a certain thing that was being done on them. Next thing you know, he comes over here with a dial caliper. And he starts measuring something with a dial caliper. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? You can't.
Yeah, that one ain't gonna work on this.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you can't run this carburetor. I said, tell me why. It passes all of those other gauges. He said, well, now we're going to use this dial caliper to make sure this is right. You know what I said?
Fair.
But you better check everybody's
There
the
you
same
go,
way.
yeah.
That's all I ask.
Yeah.
And now every week he comes by with a poop, 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 and he's got his dial caliper. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. So it changes because it'll, this rule or this particular thing that was legal is no longer legal. That's fine. As long as it's the same for everybody.
Right.
So
I'll tell you a funny story right quick. We went to Richmond. We'd won like 4 times in a row at Richmond in the Busch car. And it was the stepchild car. And we're sitting over there, and them officials, they were like just hot that we had won again. And they were like, I think we'd won like 7 races that year. So we go over there to underneath the little shed. They pull the motor down, and they're like, we're going to find this traction control. They had us pull the seat out, pulled all the brake lines out, had to pull the hubs off. I had to knock the back race out of the hub. They took the carburetor, took it up in the truck, and got in a closet with a flashlight, and they were trying to shine the flashlight to see if it was an oval hole.
yeah.
And they were doing all this stuff. And I mean, we were there till like 1:30 in the morning. Okay. And back then you drove home. Like you ain't going over getting a plane. So it's 1:30 in the morning. So you ain't getting home today. Well, I just so happened that about 3 weeks before that, I had made these wheels that you just slide up into the frame rails. And it was for a crash car. Like you crash one, just take the wheels off of it, put these casters in it, push it up in the top of the truck and be done. Well, them officials had never seen that. Well, they sit there, they tore this car complete. I mean, they had truck arms out, rear end housing out. I mean, it was a disassembled frame. And they're about 1:30 and they're like, okay, well, looks like y'all passed. So y'all have fun. Y'all go ahead and put that back together. Like that. They thought we had to put it all back together for it. And I started laughing. I said, watch this magic trick. And I went over there. I said, bring me the box. And they brought the box over, and I slammed them things up in there. And we took the wagon and throwed everything that was out of the car in there, and we pushed it off from them. And you talking about mad.
Oh, yeah.
Because they thought we were going to be there for another hour and a half putting that car back together. And I was like, we ready for the power wash.
Yeah. We got an easy day on Monday now. Yeah.
But they had never seen nothing like it. We pushed it right across that parking lot up into the truck.
That's why it was good. Hold my beer minutes.
Watch this.
Well, with all the cars you've been around and set up, and everything from Cup, Xfinity to I'm assuming trucks, late models, modifieds. What's the most fun for you to work on?
All the supers right now. Like I love, and here's what the deal is. Like when I was 18, I used to run down at Concord when they'd had the Big Ten series and all that stuff, and watch Freddie and Jack Sprague and Rick Bickle, Mike Thomas. I can remember all them guys going down there, and it was 200 lapper, had to pit one time, and it was just a show, man. Like them cars, like sitting there, quick changes with aluminum tubes. I mean, back then the Cup teams didn't have Spintrons and big, huge engine rooms like they had. So like if they had a motor and they wanted to test a cam or test something, well, they'd go down there to Concord and give it to one of those big guys and say, hey, run this motor 500 miles, and when you get done with it, bring it back. That's how they tested it. So, I mean, you were getting top-notch Yates motors down there. I mean, it was incredible. But I've always been fascinated with those cars. I'm just like, man, that's the coolest cars. And I think that's what I've kind of done, full circle.
Yeah.
I went and did the Xfinity. I went to the top. Like, I've seen how it is up there. And it's now I'm doing what I've always wanted to do, is work on these super late models. I mean, Five Flag Speedway is tricky. Like, you can't go down there with the same setup every time. Like, it's got its own unique deal. And then there's racers, I mean, just like yourself. I mean, like Bubba Pollard. There's people out there that's raced their whole life, and they're good.
Yeah.
It's like I took Keselowski down there 2 years ago to the Derby, and he was having a hard time getting a hold of it. And I got Derek Thorne to come over there and drive the car. I'm like, come over here and shake this car down for him, and just kind of you talk to him about how to get around here. And he run like 2/10 faster than Brad. And Brad looked at me and goes, how's he that good? I'm like, there's a lot of them that's that good.
That's right.
I said, there's a lot of them that's that good that ain't never going to have the chance to get to where you're at.
Amen.
Yep.
And I said, and you respect them people. And I mean, there's people out there that, and some of them are like Ralph Earnhardt. They don't want that.
Right.
They don't want to go to the big leagues. They're fine doing exactly what they're doing, and you respect that. And I think a lot of people, I've had a lot of people come up to me in the garage like, man, thank you for coming to this. Like, it's cool to see you out here just because they know where I've come from, and trying to support the local deal. Yeah. It's like I told Dale Jr., me and him's talked about it, him going to Florence. I'm like, dude, you're doing exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Like, we've all got all this success and everything from the big time. And it's like we can go back and give it to the little guys.
Mm-hmm.
That makes your heart feel good,
Yeah,
And it's like, if I can get on the phone 5 minutes and talk to somebody and help them straighten out their car, like, it makes me feel good. You like that, and so that's just where I look at it is, man, I'm having such a good time. You get to see these kids that are like 12, 13 years old that's running these super late models, and they're trying to get to where I was.
Right.
And if you can give them any kind of advice to help them get there, engineers coming out of UNCC to come over to the shop and working, and they're like, well, how do I get to there? Okay, well, you got to be quiet and you got to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, right.
Here's the broom. Let's get started.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't be scared to work. Like when they tell you it closes at 4:30, we'll go home at 6.
Yeah.
Put in a little bit of extra effort, and you'll go a long way. So
I've always noticed with Bert and all the career race folks that come through here, like y'all are always chasing something. I mean, obviously championships and wins and poles and all that stuff. And as we all collectively get a little bit older, where you were chasing championships and you know, making sure you have the sponsorship and winning races on the cup side, now that your lifestyle's changed some, what are you chasing now?
Just fun, and just like me and Payton getting to race together, you know, them two little boys, Eli and Payton. You know, I adopted them 7 years ago, and it's like they've been a blessing to me, you know, just as much as I have been to them. And, you know, that's what I chase. I chase trying to see them be happy, us going to the racetrack as family, and just going to these short tracks and just winning races and still having fun. Like Leonard Wood, me and him talked to it one time, and it's like we just like making stuff go fast. Make it go faster than it's supposed to.
Yeah.
That's what's fun,
right.
you know.
Well, that's actually a good segue. We're going to have Payton on here in just a minute. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, Bert's going to have the reins, and he's going to talk to Payton, who I just met today, but he is a very well-mannered, polite child. And he how old is he?
He just turned 9.
Just turned 9, and he has the racer's mentality.
Yeah, boy.
There is no doubt about that from talking to him. So real quick, before we step away, again, the new diecasts are on racefangear.com. Will you have them at...
I will have them at Franklin County.
Not Ace.
No.
Okay.
I don't think they're having a pit party or anything.
Okay.
Today, so
Okay.
we'll have them at Franklin County. I know the scale numbers, but the big one and the little one.
Right.
We'll have both of them.
Yeah. So,
What is it, 164, 124, something
Yeah,
like that?
that's right.
Anyway, we'll
Yeah.
have both of them. So we didn't say this the other day, and I've had a lot of people message and ask. This one sells for $90, and that one sells for $15.
okay.
So that way you can be prepared if you want to come to the racetrack. I had several people come to the race shop this week and get a few. So.
Is there a difference in autographed ones versus not autographed ones?
No. If you want to, none of them are autographed that I'll have. None of them are autographed already, but I'll be glad to sign it for you if you want to.
All right. We're going to step away for a quick message, and we'll be right back.
We are CitruSafe, where good grilling is made better. We have prided ourselves in being the industry pioneer for safe grill cleaners. Our citrus-powered grill cleaner spray paired with our nylon bristle brushes is all you need when it comes time to clean your grill. We strive to not only save you fuel, but also avoid the dangers associated with ingesting metal wire grill brushes. CitruSafe is available at major retailers nationwide, from Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, Walmart, and many more. We also are available online on Amazon.com. CitruSafe, great for all grills.
Couple more steps. Holy how's it going? Are you me? Yeah, I'm you from the future. Well, hold on, let me shoot this deer real quick. Yeah, that deer's gonna wind you because you didn't use your limit shield. Told you so. Anyway, I got a jet. Just remember to use your limit shield. Oh yeah, and if Mike asks you to go to Tijuana, don't go.
Hey, everybody, we're back. Philip Dixon has left the building. I think got a notification on his phone. Krispy Kreme had buy one, get one free dozen, I think. Anyway, so now we brought in, Tony's still with us. We brought in Payton. Payton,
Yeah.
glad to have you. You
Thank
good? You
Yeah.
good to go?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to talk about your racing just a little bit, okay?
Okay.
So I've seen pictures of you on top of the wing with your arms in the air, seen pictures of trophies. But the coolest picture I saw was you kissing some bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah? You want to tell us a little bit about that, where you were and what happened?
Yeah. So my dad just told me to do my best, and so he showed me some stuff that I needed to do different, and so I just did it. And then this 10-year-old kid came up to me and then said, "Are you in the same class as me?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, I've been in Rev Rookie for like a long time, and I said, "Well, you never raced me, so."
So did you put a whooping on him?
Yeah.
Now where were you racing at? Indy, kissing the bricks, huh?
Yeah.
So you put a whooping on him.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. How long have you been racing? long as you can remember, I'm sure, right? Well, I remember the first time I met you, I guess, was him over in my race shop whenever we were trying to get that modified straightened out for the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, he was over there. Golly, when you was talking about 7 years, I can't even.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we had him up there at your shop, and he was grabbing all the wrenches in there, trying to take the A-frame off the modified, and we were laughing, saying, "Well, he's gonna be a worker."
That's right. That's right.
You know, but
Well, your daddy sure does brag on you a lot, so I'm glad to have you here so we can hear some of these stories straight from you. Do you want to tell everybody kind of how you and Tanya came to be their parents, and him and Eli, and kind of just tell everybody kind of a little bit about what's going on there?
yeah. So Payton was 18 months old, and Eli was 6 months old, and it's Tanya's nephew. He's always kind of had a problem with addiction, and it was him and his wife. They both had a problem. So it's like they got missing. So their grandpa went and found them, and they were in a meth house in Concord. So the grandfather picked them up, and then they had used up all their vacation and everything trying to watch the kids, and they called me and Tanya and asked if we would just help. Like, say they needed some help with the kids, and they're like, they were like, we're going to send the parents to rehab and try to get everything kind of straightened out. So we were looking at more like we were just going to help the family out and take care of the kids during the week, because it's just me and Tanya. And it just kind of turned out to where, we didn't see a lot of interest in the parents couldn't get out of rehab. The mom finally did, but just they didn't have a lot of interest in the kids, and it's like, for me, it was just like, well, I'm not going to, kids are everything, and so I told her, I said, well, these kids are not going back into a bad situation. It's the only thing I can do is try to give them the best life that I can give them, so we had them for probably 3 years, and parents may have come seen them twice. And so we just kind of went back and forth between us and the grandparents. So we ended up going to court and getting full custody of them. So they're basically ours, and we just kind of been going through life with them. I mean, they've been a blessing to me just as much as I've been a blessing to them. And we try to take care of each other, and just trying to give them every opportunity to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
It's just like Payton picked up on this racing deal. He really likes it.
That didn't bother you any, did it?
That didn't bother me. It was like, he'd been running a flat cart when he was like 4.5. I remember Freddie coming up to him and goes, "How was that kid?" And I said, 4.5. He goes, "He's unbelievable," but we'd go out and race go-karts together. And then little Eli, I think he likes baseball. So we played a little bit of baseball here and there. And, right now their big thing is they both got them a football helmet and jersey. One's Clemson, one's Georgia. And we get out there in the front yard, and I'm quarterback for both teams.
What is it?
Let's go Clemson.
Good.
So, but it's that's kind of where our story went. And it's just like I said, we're just trying to do everything we can to give these kids the best life they can have and teach them about the Lord and God. And little Eli, he wants to be a preacher.
I was going to say, you can throw that helmet in the trash, because I know what he's going to do.
Eli wants to be a preacher, and God bless him, and he knows it. And I mean, even Payton here, I think at the last quarter midget race, he said the prayer for everybody before we got started. So he's
awesome.
All about it. So we're doing the right things to bring up kids right in this world today.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. What's your? I know the easy answer is, the trophy or whatever, I guess. But what's your favorite thing about winning?
Just racing and getting the trophies.
Yeah, racing Well, I guess I should say, what's your favorite thing about racing is winning, obviously. But do you, let's see how I can say this? Whenever you win, are you already thinking about the next race, or are you thinking about celebrating the race that you just won? That's a kind of celebrate. Yeah, well, that's what you're supposed to do for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But I know your dad's told me a lot about how focused you are on making sure that you can't wait till the next race so you can go win again. I'm amazed, because when I was your age, I was playing on Matchbox cars, watching Looney Tunes.
Right.
When we were growing up, we didn't get to do this.
Yeah.
You had to be driver's licensed to race. So to hear the stories and see the stuff about what he's able to accomplish is just, it's nuts. So what's your next race coming up? You don't know yet?
No.
Yeah, we raced Saturday at Salisbury. We got a
Okay.
race there. And then we got our next race will be at Charlotte. We're going to run the youth series big race at Charlotte Motors. We'll be at ZMAX. So they got a 3-day show over there to where all the kids, so there's kids from they're 5 to 16 that run in these quarter midgets. And it's like, it's pretty unique. Like they're running all over the country. Like, I think last week they were in right north of Atlanta in Georgia. They had the Cotton Classic. They were running down there, and then they got a big one coming up in Salisbury on the 27th. It's called the Dixie race. We won't be able to be there. That's kind of have to balance it between the late models. Like there's a big Pensacola show there, so we won't be able to go to that one. But so we're going to race this weekend, get prepared for Charlotte, and that'll be a lot of fun over there for sure.
Well, do they now, like, as far as, is it the classes, is it by age or just by
It's by both.
cart or like by like, how does that work? Like, what in other words, is he racing against kids just his age, or can a older kid race in that particular class with that particular motor and cart combination?
It varies. So like they have these junior classes, and then they have a red rookie, then they have a blue rookie, and then they have junior classes. And the junior classes are 4 to 9 years old. And then when you have your senior classes, they're from you're basically a 9-year-old up to a 16. At 16, you graduate from quarter midgets. But the nice thing about the quarter midget deals is like the kids have to go through a class. They have to learn how to line up. They have to learn what they do in the caution, what they do.
We should be doing that.
Hey, I'm
with
telling you,
grown-ups.
like, as far as if you're trying to teach your kid about racing, this is the way to go because
cool.
they have to go through this class and graduate that before they can go race.
Okay.
And then when you go to a red rookie, it's basically an introduction to racing. Hey, they take a little bit more time with the kids to get them lined up and all, and then they race. And then the next one is a blue. And then by blue, you really know the fundamentals of racing, and then you race. And then when you go into the juniors, your juniors are your more competitive classes. So you could have a kid that could have been racing in juniors for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of racing experience. And that's kind of where he's at right now. We just started this adventure probably in March, and we're in blue rookie right now. And it's like we're getting ready to graduate up to the juniors, but he just turned 9. So we're actually going to have to jump into seniors. So we're trying to run the blues just a little bit longer because when he next class he goes up to, he'll be running 9 to 16-year-olds.
Wow.
So and then it changes by motors, like do they have a blue restrictor? Are they open? And then you got some world modifieds to where it's just an open motor. But the quarter midget deal is really cool. I think it takes a lot of patience to learn how to pass.
Yeah.
And we've done a little bit of stuff out at Millbridge, and Millbridge was a great time. I'll be honest with you, the Millbridge deal, the quarter midgets fits what I do better because I have so much going on outside of that to where, like, when you go to Millbridge, it's a 3-hour cleanup when you come home from the dirt track.
Yeah.
Just getting everything prepared to where the quarter midgets, you don't have to kind of spend so much time on it to where you can go and you can go up once you're a club member, you can test any day. The gate's open, you can come anytime you want. Where if you do like a Millbridge deal, well, it's $200 a test for 3 hours. So it's like you want to get your kid track time, you can go do it this way and you can get all the track time you really want. So and all the tracks are the same width and same measurements. So
Really?
yeah, it's just you may, like Charlotte, it'd be in a parking lot. But the one in Salisbury.
So they do them all the same.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so they're all the same measurements. So it's like they go and drill a triangle and put out the 2 cones, and then that's how they lay them out. So they're always consistent. But NASCAR's done a good job of getting behind it. Cookout people's gotten behind it. So there's a lot of good people involved in it. And it's just, that Indy trip with me and him, we went up there, father, son, and just had a good time, and like it was pretty special. It's like I told him the night before, I said, they ain't giving out 1 glass of milk. Because that's the thing is they do everything with the kids up there just like you won the Indy 500. I mean, you get a wreath around your neck, you get a gold medal, you get a glass of milk with an etched winner on it, big banner. You got a brick. You got to go out there and kiss the bricks. I told him, I said, you've done something I've never got to do.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
And they actually let the kids, one day they go out there and they let them go around the big track in their little car.
Really?
So he got to go all the way around the big Indy track in his quarter midget. They take a picture of them when they come across the yard of bricks.
Yeah.
And just really neat what they do for the kids.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know, to
man.
give them that experience to make it. But they really have to learn. We learned our lesson a couple weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
We were running second, and we were trying to get by the guy, and he kept chopping us, and we got into him a couple times. Well, he seen the white flag come out, so he knew his time was out. So when he got into 3, he made his way right on by. And we went underneath the checker, and we were like, he was sitting out there riding around. He's like, I need my checkered flag. And we got disqualified for, so they put us to the rear for rough driving. So he was like, Daddy, why didn't they give me my trophy? And I was like, well, I don't think they liked the way you passed him. But, you know, he's getting to where he's understanding that part of racing. It's really neat because it's like I think it was the first time he had won at Millbridge, and he's coming off the corner, and I got a picture of him going underneath the flag, and he's got his hand out. And he got home, and I said, is that your hand off the steering wheel? I said, you holding your fist? He goes, no, I was holding the number 1.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so that's kind of one of his trademarks. As soon as he wins, he puts his hand up.
like the Carl Edwards backflip.
Yeah, I said,
that's your thing, huh?
I said, where'd you learn that? I didn't. I said, you learned it from somebody. You learned it from Kyle or somebody like that watching it. But we have a really good time with it.
Yeah, the only thing being better about that glass of milk is they put a little chocolate in it, right?
Yeah.
That's probably the best glass of milk you'd ever had, wasn't it? Yeah. Did you let it run down your face and stuff? Yeah, I see.
He wanted to pour it on him. I said, that's a long ride home.
Yeah, boy, that would.
I said, from Indiana to North Carolina, I said, it'd be sour by the time we get back.
You wouldn't smell too good then.
But Mama, she was disappointed she wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question is, what's Mama think about you racing? She like it?
Yeah, she feels safe because my dad just builds these carts. So.
Make sure, he's going to make sure that he builds it as safe as possible, huh?
Yeah.
Does she tell you that? Does she get nervous?
No.
And guess what? She does. She might not tell you that, but she does. I promise she does.
Yeah, she called us up at Indy. Well, we had just won?
Yeah.
And we was laughing because she got on there and she's like, I made a bad decision. I should have come. Because she asked me before I left, she goes, you know, I got a lot of stuff going on around here. You really think he's got a shot at winning? I said, well, I wouldn't be going if I didn't think he was.
That's right.
I said, he got as good a shot as anybody. And he went up there and, I mean, he whooped him. And he called us right as soon as we got off the track. And she's like boo-hooing. And she's like, I made a bad decision.
They did get home early, at least.
Yeah. But we had a good time with it.
Yeah.
Very special time. It's like I posted on there, I told people, I said, that's memories that, you know, father and son, he'll never forget that.
That's right.
He'll never forget that trip. We went to the museum, seen all the Indy cars in there, and he had a good time in that. They've revamped that whole deal up there, and it's a really neat museum to go in. Took him, he'd never been downtown Indy, so we went downtown, ate pizza, and checked out things there. So we've had a lot of good times.
What do you want to, like, where's your goal? What do you think you want to do? Like, at the end of the day, where would you like to be racing at? Not like today, but like when you get older, where do you want to race at? In other words, the reason I ask is because you got Indy cars and you got Cup cars and you got the trucks and like, what Daytona. You want to run Daytona, a Cup car? Well, I think you probably got a real good shot at it. I think you got a really good shot at it.
I'd say one thing, like Willie, you know, being with the 50 team, that was one thing that they'd never seen Daytona. Yeah. And like he sees his room is dressed up with all the trophies and the stuff that I'd won in the Bud days. And he's always asked me, he's like, did you work on that 8 car? And I'm like, yeah. So when we went to Daytona, I said, this is where Daddy won a lot of races. You know, and we pulled in there and we spent the whole week there. We went down there and done, you know, with Danica's last race down there. But I put them up on a pit box, and we were the last pit box. So when they come out behind that wall, you know how that is. It's so neat. But we've tried to take it. We went to Bristol. We've been to Bristol and watched the race there. Just try to take him to some of these places. But he's always asking questions like, well, how did you do here? Or, you know, if you see something on Facebook where it's an old race or something, he really gets into that, trying to figure out what really happened back in the day. You know?
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you a question, and I want to see if you answered. Okay.
Okay.
How many races have you won? That's right. Well, you know what? That's a really good answer. Let me tell you why.
Why?
Because when it's not many, you say 2.
Yeah.
Whenever you don't know how many, it means you want a lot. So that's really good.
Yeah, he likes winning, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, do you like do you like dirt better or do you like asphalt better?
Asphalt.
Asphalt, me too. I've never raced on dirt, but that
like
whole
dirt.
3-hour cleanup thing you was talking about, that ain't up my alley.
I'm telling you, every week it's like you're doing bearings, you got to pressure wash, you got to clean this, you got to clean that. And it's like it ain't near that on the asphalt. Like we can cut some tires and get on with it. But
yeah. So, well, tell us, you may can help him with this. So I know you won the junior, or what do they call the youth?
yeah, the
At
NASCAR
the
Youth Series.
Brickyard.
Yep.
What's some other stuff? You want to tell us about some other cool wins that you've had? All of them? Yeah. Maybe Daddy can help you with this one. What's some of the big?
We've won some of the local races there at Salisbury this year. We've won 3 races out there, 1 Indy. We run second in the Carolina Clash, that was his first race out, so he did good there. And then we've run a lot of wing kart races at Woodleaf, like Jeff Freeman. He owns that track, and like what's really neat about that track out there is like those kids in the wing karts, they're running like 53, 55 mile an hour, and they actually got a draft.
Really?
And like that's been pretty neat. Like he's won out there probably 5 times. I think we've been on every pole that we've been on out there. And he told me, he says, Dad, he goes, that drafting thing you showed me on iRacing, it really works.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. He's figured out how to do a slingshot and do stuff like that. And then,
You like that, huh?
Yeah.
Well, drafting runs in the family.
Yeah.
Good drafting runs in the family.
We've run at Millbridge, and we've won a couple races there, and that's been a lot of fun over there. But it's just like you say, it's just they race there on Tuesday nights, and it's just hard to get from Statesville and get down here. And then, like I said, you got to schedule it around all my super races and everything. So it's kind of hard to run for a championship, but we try to. It's something that we like to do as father-son, you know. Yeah. It's like Tanya, she's like, well, do you think you'd ever make it to ARCA or anything? I'm like, well, I don't know. I said, his daddy ain't got a checkbook for that.
Right.
You know, I said, so we might, I said, I can build a super, you know. I said, I can do that. So, and that's kind of, me and Johnny Bolin down at one of the guys I helped down in Alabama, that's what we talk about all the time. He's 9. And you said, they start him in them supers.
I was getting
at
ready
12.
to say, he's only 3 years away from
that's what
Can
Johnny,
you imagine? Look at him sitting right here. Imagine 3 years away from being able to drive a super.
It's amazing. It's just like I tell them when they're out there at Woodleaf, I said, people are like, them cars run fast. I said, yeah. I said, if you really want to put it in perspective, I said, think about a 9-year-old running down the interstate beside of you at 55.
Yeah.
I said, think about it that way. I said, it's pretty remarkable, but it's we're having a good time with it for sure.
Good. Yeah, it's like you said, there's memories that you can't
buy. I mean, I remember days of me and my dad going and running go-karts together to this day, and Freddie Query being over there, and I mean, those are memories that you never get away from, you know. And we've got him on iRacing now, so he's trying to learn. I ain't let him get on the actual live deal yet.
Yeah,
We're still doing the AI components. Our competitors, but we're doing some of that. But he's enjoying that. He'll go in there and play with it about every night. And
what division are you racing in on iRacing? What's your favorite?
Mini stocks.
You like the mini stocks? Yeah, those are fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's been wanting to drive the truck. He asked me the other day, like he likes the Talladega and Daytona. He likes the trucks.
Yeah.
He asked me, he said, "Can I drive the trucks? Can I drive the trucks?"
So you really like Daytona, huh?
Yeah.
That's your favorite? Yeah.
I'll tell you where he did good, and I was really surprised, was Darlington.
Really?
Yeah, he got in a truck and run Darlington and did really good. And I was like, Darlington's a hard one.
Yeah.
You know, but he did really good there.
Well, I think we've talked about this a little bit before. They've got iPads in their hands at 2 years old.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
And then our video games had 2 buttons on them. Theirs has got 12 buttons on them.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to watch Slate play at Fortnite. And it's like,
oh, yeah.
And he'll say, "Here, Dad, you try it." And I'm like, and I'm having to watch this thing. So the hand-eye coordination and the what they've been exposed to at such an early age.
Yeah.
but to see it in person and with you and to live it.
Yeah.
You knowing in other words, knowing what it used to be like.
Right.
And you're getting firsthand of what it's turned into.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think about.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's just like you were talking about with them Diecast. I mean, I remember, like, if you wanted race cars to play with, well, you had to get the program at the racetrack and you cut them out and you raced them on the floor. Right?
Yeah.
That was your cars.
That's right.
Like, you didn't have no cool diecast like that to be messing with. So, but that's just how things have changed. I mean, I look back, remember the old, what was it? It was like the old Days of Thunder game.
Yeah.
I didn't forgot what console it was on, but that was the only racing game that you could get.
Yeah.
And it was like you get Blockbuster Video and you were trying to rent that thing
Yeah.
as much as you could so you could run it and just. But and for them to have iRacing and the technology that they have these days,
Oh gosh, man,
and that's what I tell people all the time. It's like iRacing. People they're like, well, does it work? Does it do this? Well, you can't go and take a setup off of iRacing and put it in a real car and make it. The physics and the simulation on the backside is not there. But I said, you can take the general concept of racing and use it on the setup. I said, but the biggest thing that it is I said, it can teach you how to miss wrecks and how to run a line on a racetrack.
Restarts and
Restart.
pit road.
Yeah, all that stuff. That's the kind of things that it'll teach a kid, because I said, eventually they're going to need all that information. I said, but if you can, and it's repetition. And the nice thing about it is, as far as a parent, is you hit Shift R.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, you're dealing with that now. It's like
you crash.
Yeah, Shift R, and you got you a new car. It's like, so.
Yeah, but that's not always a good thing when it comes to them, because then they think, well, Dad'll just hit the button. Oh, we crashed. Oh, Dad hit the button.
Yeah. Restart. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. We'll see what you think about, too, when we talk about how it used to be versus how it is now. iRacing wouldn't have made it back then, because the kind of racing, and we had to drive by the seat of our pants. And the way these cars drive now, it kills me. You're watching them and they'll say, the guy will go, you'll see his hands on the steering wheel. First of all, they show the car and the car goes, and the announcers go, what a save. Oh my gosh, he almost wrecked that car. And you see the cockpit and he goes like this. And I'm like, dude, what? He wiggled, So the way these cars are driving now, I could see where iRacing could help. And I could see where, like with Kyle, he talked about he's a hit the mark kind of guy.
Right.
Where I'm not. Where I race short tracks, my mark changes 80 times during the night. In Cup, you got the same mark 95% of the day. So I could see where iRacing would help that. In short track modified racing, iRacing doesn't really relate to me.
Right.
Because, talking about, like whenever you tried to get me to do the coil bind on the left front.
Right.
And what I tell you, I said, I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
I said, you have to make me a believer. You got to prove it to me. And the reason I thought that is going back to our conversation is the fastest lap we run all day is qualifying. And then after that, you're running at 75% or 50%. And then you put your change tire on and you go back to 85%. So my mark, my braking zone, my throttle, when I go to all that changes throughout the day. So how can I practice that on iRacing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if I know I'm hitting the same mark 490 laps out of 500, then iRacing can absolutely help. And I see it with Slate as far as like when he was going to go run his first tour race at South Boston, and he went up there on the iRacing and he did the modified at South Boston, and hitting your marks and being smooth and the repetition and all that, the muscle memory and all, I can see where that helps.
Yeah.
But as far as feeling it and driving by the seat of your pants,
no, it's hard to get. You can't afford that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
when you looked at them with them guys in COVID and all, they had them where they could do it. But it's like there's some really neat steering wheels out there that give you a better palm of your hand feel. But it's like I tell people a lot of times, it's like, just like, think about it as you come to the end of Daytona or end of a Talladega race, and these guys are in these trucks. Well, a lot of them don't even know how to make a run or make a slingshot. Because how many times are you actually going to be in that situation?
Right.
To where, hey, I got to make a run on this guy. Hey, I got to back the field up and get the run and all that. And I said, and iRacing kind of gives you that, because you still got decisions around you.
Yeah.
There's people around you that are making decisions on how they're going to do cars. So it's like a chess match.
Yeah.
So you can really get in there and kind of do that several times and learn different techniques of how you need to do it.
Yeah.
And I think, but that's the biggest thing. And I mean, it's funny. I get on there and I look at how many people are actually online that are actually driving. And I mean, there's some overseas doing road course. I mean, he was in there the other night, he was just watching. He's like, I found this deal where you can actually watch live streams. And he was actually going in there and you're in the cockpit with a guy and letting him drive.
Oh, that's cool.
And so he was figuring that out and watching that. He said, this is cool, but that's the way you figure it out is watch and learn.
You sure do love that racing, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. You got to love it. But don't forget to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have fun.
Have fun.
You got to have fun.
Yeah.
Because when you're not having fun no more, time to find something else to do, isn't it?
Yeah, like I'm on Nintendo, but I don't have my Nintendo anymore.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, other than racing, what else do you like? What's your favorite hobbies and things that you like to do?
Throwing some football with my dad, playing
Rides
baseball.
that scooter all the time.
You got a scooter? Is it electric scooter? Yeah. Yeah. You ride it up and down the driveway and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever go to the race shop with your dad?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
He'd go every day if I'd let him.
Yeah.
He's asked me every day this week. He goes, can I go to shop? Can I go to shop? Because mom's homeschooling now, so it's like he gets the ability where he can go with me more and we can do stuff. And that's kind of like she wanted to homeschool because, I mean, the way she's looking at it is, these kids here, I mean, you've seen how fast they're growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, from 7 to 16, there's somebody else got my kids 8 hours a day that I'm not getting to spend with them.
Yeah.
And she says, and this is the best time. Because, I tell her all the time, I was like, I told her last year, I said, these 10 years, I've got 10 more summers.
Yeah.
Because that's how fast it goes.
Oh, I know.
And you
Trust
don't,
me.
and I mean, you lived it, and it's just like, so it's just like, that's what we try to look at it like, is like life is short, and we try to spend every, because when kids turn 18, 19 years old, they're kind of starting their own life. They're starting their own family, and it's like they're kind of going on. So we want to spend as much time together as we can and just enjoy. I mean, that's kind of like me and my dad. I mean, we've been successful, but we still go to these little short tracks together.
Yeah.
It's something we love to do together and hang out and try to fix it and figure out how to make it go faster and all. And, I think Pops, he loves going to the track with Payton. So we take him about to every race. And we got Spencer Davis's dad. He goes with us a lot now, and he knows all about the go-kart people and everybody there. So he kind of keeps us straight too. So if we need anything customized, we can get it made.
I can remember, I know it happened. I don't know how much I remember of the transition, but I remember Slate, me wanting to take him to the shop and him wanting to go to the shop, but realizing that I couldn't get anything done because I got to make sure he's not getting into something he's not supposed to or get hurt or something like that. And then next thing you know, he's down there up under the car helping me work on it.
Yeah.
And now he's to the point where he's 17, where I say, all right, get your bolts checked, get your gas done, get this done, get that done. And I walk away.
Right.
But he's still in the shop with me and still doing it. And obviously it's, hey, Dad, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
And what that really means is, will you do this for me?
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But yeah, I remember, but there was that time where when Slate was this age that I thought to myself, I can't wait till he's old enough to where he can help me.
Right.
Not because I needed the help, because we could do it together.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you did that with your dad. I did it with my dad, and now
now we get to do it with
now
the
we
boys.
get to do it with our son. So pretty cool stuff, man. Because it sounds cliche that it's in your blood and it's but it's what we do.
Yeah.
It's what we do. And Philip asked me a couple weeks ago, like if I wasn't into racing, what would I do? And I couldn't even answer the question.
Right.
Like, what would you do? I'll ask you. If you weren't in racing, what would you do? Today, if you said, I'm walking away from racing, I'm not going to have anything to do with racing, what would you do?
I can go find me a deer ranch to work on.
Well, the Olympic Shield crowd just cheered for that. But the bottom line is you feel the same way I do. I'm sure that you can't walk away.
Yeah.
Like no matter, your role might change,
Yeah.
But you can never walk away from racing.
No, you have a great time racing, and it's just a competitiveness of it. Just having it, it's like I can go to the, I haven't been to many college football games because I never was able to.
Yeah.
And like I went down, found a new group of friends down there at Clemson, and we went down there and watched a couple games down there. And it's like, yeah, it's a good time, and you go meet people and all, but it ain't the same adrenaline rush, And I think that's what you're after. It's like, that's why I kind of say, like, I take the boys, like, we got a little hunting property, like 5 minutes from the house, and we got a buddy stand. Well, all three of us will get up in the same stand.
Well, that's cool.
It's set up there, and it was like,
you killed any deer yet?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah.
He makes fun of me. It's like 3 years ago, I had a really nice 8-point walkout, and I hadn't pulled a bow back. Like, I carried a bow. I do more to go with them than just to watch.
Yeah.
And I take the bow with me just in case something walks out. Well, something walked out, and I hadn't pulled the strings back in 4 years. Like, and I'm just like, and that deer, I told them, I said, y'all need to stand still because Daddy's shooting this one. And that joker come over there, and he got like 15 yards in front of me, and I went to pull the bow back, and I couldn't get it back. I was pulled, and I was shaking. I put it up in the air, and I was trying to pull it. I couldn't get it back.
I told him to bring his gun.
Yeah, he
You
told
tried
me
to tell him,
before he left, he says, you ought to put that bow up and just take your gun. So this big deer walks out. I can't pull the bow back. And the deer runs off, and he said, I told you should have brought your gun. Well,
you was right, wasn't you?
I'm disappointed. I said, I'm sorry, your daddy's a wuss, and I can't pull it back. I said, but I'm just telling you, like, I don't know what's going on. So I went home, walked in the bedroom, and I'm like, well, maybe it's buck fever. Maybe it was I had too many clothes on. So I take my jacket off, and I'm like, okay. And I went, and he goes, yep, that's what it looked like. He said he looked just like that in the tree, Mama. And so they give me a hard time. Well, my brother-in-law went over there, and he killed it the next day and got it. So last year we went, and I went out there and practiced a couple times before I went. Right. We went in there, and we had this deer come in, and he walked out in front, and he walked around us, and the kids were up in the neighborhood yelling, so the deer spooked off, and he come back about an hour later. And we shot him right there, and they were both like, yeah, we shot us a deer, but
we didn't find it.
We couldn't find it.
Oh, no. Well, that's when you needed the drone, the thermal drone.
Dude.
Needed to come out with a thermal drone.
Me and Kevin, we walked till 1 o'clock in the morning. We had a nice blood trail. We walked down. We were probably a mile and a half down in the woods. And there was a tree fell over. And that deer walked up to it, and you could tell where he dripped. And we went underneath that tree to see if there's on the other side, nothing to the right, nothing to the left. And that's the last, there ain't another spot of blood. Like Tanya actually went over there the next day. She's like, I'm going to find it for you. Like,
right.
I'm going to find, I'm like, okay. So I walked her over there. I said, right here's where the last sighting was. And she scoped the whole deal during the day. And then I went back there that afternoon.
Holy cow.
I looked all over the place for this and still ain't found this deer.
Philip's got that thermal drone.
Okay.
Where he can fly it.
Yeah.
And it shows the heat from the deer. And I think you've done that for Newman a couple times, haven't you? Yeah. So anyway, you need to get Philip's number.
I'm going to have to get it.
We did find the arrow.
Yeah, I found the arrow. We got about that much. I mean, that was the thing. It's like when it hit him, wasn't no blood at the spot of where it left. And it was like, I went down and I heard him jump the creek. So we looked all around, no blood for like 75 yards. And then I walked across the creek. And when I got across the creek, you could see where he come out of the creek, and it was a road bed, and he stopped in the middle of that road bed, and there was just a good puddle of blood, just where it was, where he was standing. And then he took off running up the hill. And I think that's where we found the arrow, about 30 yards up the hill there. But I'm talking up, down, backtracking.
Holy cow.
And then like we let him lay for like 2 hours before we went back over there, just to kind of, because I was like, I said it was a good hit, but I said, I just don't know how good. So we'll figure it out if he shows up again this year.
Yeah, right.
Might have a limp.
So you like hunting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loves fishing too.
Oh,
He's been begging me to take him fishing here the last couple of weekends, but he really likes that.
What kind of fish do you like to catch? Anything that'll bite?
Yeah.
Yeah. You like catfishing? You ever been catfishing?
Yeah.
Catfishing's kind of I call it boring. I like to throw out and reel in and throw out and reel in.
Yeah.
So I like to catch bass. You like to catch bass? Me too.
Yeah, he'll
Yeah.
catch a bass. When we go to the beach, we'll go surf fishing, catch some sharks.
Okay. You
Hey,
caught
Rick.
a shark before?
Yeah.
Wow, that was cool, huh? Who got it off the hook? Daddy got it off the hook for you? Yeah. We caught a few little baby sharks on the pier before. So how big was it? You remember?
About this big?
Okay. Did you touch it?
Yeah.
They feel funny, don't they? It's a weird, it's like a soft skin type.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, last year we went to Pensacola when the big hurricane come through here. And the wife's like, you ain't going down there. They ain't going to have no race. I was like, well, I got to go. So we actually went down to Columbia and then cut across to Atlanta because the hurricane was coming up through. We got on the backside, and she's like, it's going to rain down there. Well, we got down to Pensacola. We went to Auburn and stayed and then drove on in. We got there, and, I mean, it was sunny. Wasn't no clouds, nothing, and he's standing out on the beach. I'm Payton Eury down here live from the Hurricane Center.
Oh, he's giving the weather update, huh? Yeah.
So it's nice and clear. So,
Oh, my goodness. Do you sign many autographs? Have you signed any autographs?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Well, guess what? We're going to have you sign one today.
Yay.
Everybody that comes in signs the door back here. You see Kyle Busch is right here. There's Ben Gable over there. We just started that a couple weeks ago. We're going to have to go back and backtrack and get some of the people that were in here. Would you like to sign our door today?
Yeah.
Okay. When we get done here, we'll let you sign. You and your dad both sign the door, okay?
Okay.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank
Hope you
you.
do good. Hope you do good this weekend. You said
Okay.
Salisbury this weekend?
yep, Salisbury this weekend.
All right. Now, is that dirt or asphalt?
It's asphalt.
Asphalt.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's your car number?
I don't know.
You don't
We
have a
don't, we
car-
don't have a. They
You don't
don't.
have
They don't
numbers?
run. They put them on there like however you start for the scoring.
Oh,
because
I have
everybody
seen that where they tape the.
tape the deal
thing
on
on
it.
there.
So like
Yeah.
it depends on wherever your number
So
is.
whenever
you draw,
I see that on there, that's where you started.
that's where you start.
Okay.
So
okay.
like, you go and do qualifying, like they'll do a peel draw, and then you go pick your number. And then when you go to heat race, wherever you done, they'll give you another number. Then you put one on for the main. So that's what that is. So, but it's a good time.
when you get a little older, what car number do you want to be? What's your favorite number? 40. I thought I'd seen some pictures of you driving a 40,
Yeah.
blue and yellow 40 at one time.
Yeah, he likes blue and yellow. This last one, he told Spencer, he said, I need flames. Yeah. He said,
I had
I'm
some
hot.
flames. Yeah, I'm hot. Yeah.
Blue and orange.
Put citrus.
There you
There you
go.
go. Well, you know what Tony Stewart used to say? Them flames scared them other guys. That's
Is
what
it?
he used to say. Yeah.
But we love it. Like, we have a good time with it. Just,
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for coming on here today.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate you. Thank your mama for letting you get out of school today to come down here.
Yeah.
Even though it's homeschool, it's still school, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably home like somewhere right now because my mom had to go to the doctor today.
Okay, so both of you's out of school today?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's some good things about homeschool, but the bad thing about homeschool is when mama's the teacher, you don't ever get away from it, do you?
well, that's, everybody's always asking. They're like, well, how do you like to homeschool? And I'm one, like, I think in school, you get a social impact,
Yeah.
where you're dealing with situations with other people and how you get along. I think there's a lot to that. So, and that's the one thing that I told her. I said, I really want to make sure we don't lose that aspect, which the kids do great. Like, they get along with people, and we have a homeschool group we get together with every Friday.
Okay.
So they have to interact with other kids. And I mean, their kids are maybe 15 and maybe 6, you know.
Yeah.
So they went this past weekend and done some football and some soccer and had a good time. And I think we got Friday, we got to go to some kind of ninja park.
Wow, a ninja park.
Yeah.
That
so,
sounds fun.
So we're supposed to go do that. And
Yeah.
then we get done with that. Then we'll go testing at the quarter midget track and then race Saturday, and we'll see what Sunday brings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll tell you, though, the way society is today, I don't know if you want your kids interacting at school anymore. But,
Well, and that,
but I know what you're saying. But I will tell you this, something I've learned, and you'll agree. Having them at the racetrack is about as social interacting as you can get.
Absolutely.
So-
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. When he ain't racing at the quarter midget track there, him and a bunch of kids are running around, they're they're riding their bicycles and they're getting to interact with each other. But yeah, I mean, I think with everything that's going on in the world and, with the Charlie deal and everything, I mean, today's world, it's just a matter of just, I think, people, they holler racism, they holler this and all this, but they're using the wrong R word. It's respect.
Respect.
And that's all you got to do is everybody respects each other and respects what the other one's opinion is. I mean, you ain't got to agree with everybody, but everybody is entitled to their own opinion.
That's right.
And it's just like, as long as everybody respects each other and you treat people the way you want to get treated, if you live your life by that, you won't have any problems. And, cop tells you to pull over and get out of the car. Well, do what he says. Right or wrong, just do it. I mean, just, that's that. I mean, those guys, I look at them and like, they putting their life on the line every day. You don't know who they're opening. You don't know.
Right.
You don't know who you pulled over.
Right.
And there's some people who got problems in life, and but the Lord won't make you go through anything He can't get you
That's
through.
right. Well,
So-
I kind of restrained from turning this into a Charlie Kirk. When we talked earlier, and I almost brought it up, but I think we all I think everybody knows where we stand without getting into it, and I think that I had heard people say when 9/11 happened, well, if there's a God, how could He let this happen? There also was record number of people being saved after that happened.
Oh yeah.
Well, think about the people a week ago who didn't know who Charlie Kirk was.
Oh yeah.
They do today.
Yeah.
They do today.
Yeah.
So I think that everything happens for a reason, and I think that the thing I admire about Charlie was he knew that he took a chance on that happening every time he opened his mouth,
Yeah.
and he didn't care.
Yeah.
He didn't care. He was still an ambassador, and I think that I don't want to say they, because you say they, it makes it sound bad, but I think that the people who don't agree, and when I say agree, I don't mean agree with us. I mean agree with what the Bible tells us.
Right.
And not just that, but morals and the way you're supposed to treat people, like what you
Right.
touched on.
Yeah.
I think the people that don't agree with that, I think they're in for a rude awakening, because I think that the majority of this country is seeing that there was some evil stuff that was going on. And I think Charlie was a person that opened a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah.
It was easy for us to watch Charlie because we agreed with his
Right.
ideas. But I think a lot of people who had no idea who he was are now seeing it. And I
Yeah.
think, we all know everything happens for a reason, but, God bless him, man. I wish I could be more like that.
Oh,
I do. I wish
yeah.
I could be more like he was.
I mean,
so.
that's the thing. Is like you just gotta. Everybody wants to be a little bit more.
Yeah.
And everybody's at a different stage. So
Well, one thing I will say is I did see, talking about our kids and the schools and the way society is today, somebody had posted, they didn't kill Charlie for talking to our kids. They killed Charlie because the kids were listening.
right. That's a
And
good point.
dude, that's strong right there.
Right.
And, they say that the Christian movement in the youth right now is out of sight.
Yeah.
And it's because of Charlie. I think
Yeah.
Charlie wasn't afraid to speak it. And the cool thing, here we go. I said I wasn't going to do this, but the cool thing to me about Charlie Kirk is he didn't just get up in front of a podium and speak. He challenged you to get in touch with your feelings.
Right.
He'd say, prove me wrong. It's okay that we disagree.
Yeah.
Tell me why we disagree. I'll tell you what I think. You tell me what we think, and let's debate about it.
Right.
And think that that's the thing that in this country we've lost is somebody that disagrees with you hates you. They hate you for it.
Yeah.
And I don't hate you for disagreeing with me,
Right.
but I'm not going to hate you for disagreeing. Don't hate me for disagreeing with you. And I think
No.
that's one of the points that Charlie tried to drive was let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's get this out. So
Yeah. I always wanted somebody that didn't think exactly like me.
yeah, exactly.
I want to look at things from a different, I had a shot guy one time, and it was like, I wanted his opinion because he may be looking at it from a totally different view than what I'm looking at.
Right.
And it's like, so if you need to look at everything from all perspectives, and that kind of goes back to what Ray's talking about. Surround yourself with different people that are good in that position.
Yeah.
And use them,
Yeah.
because we're not all perfect. We're not all thinking 100% right all the time. And just like you can use other people's opinions to help make the right decision.
Right. I try to be empathetic.
Yeah.
I want to see other sides. I want to see other people's point of views. And obviously at the end of the day, we're supposed to try to educate people and try to lead them in the right direction with what we know, what the Bible tells us, and what we're supposed to do and say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they don't, you pray for them and you try to encourage them. And
it was like a guy said the other day. He said, it's proven that if you just live your life by the values that are in the Bible, you won't have near as many problems.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a known fact.
That's right.
And so, but no matter which way you live,
right.
But it's known that. So
yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap up our sermon.
All right.
Ain't nothing wrong with preaching a little bit. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Ain't never hurt nobody.
No, sir. You hear it a lot from your little brother too, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. That's some of the coolest stories that we can talk racing all day, but that day we came over there and would pick you up to go to Willie's after you had your surgery and stuff.
Yeah.
And y'all was telling me some of the stories about Eli and
I'm telling you,
those are better than racing stories.
That's a special kid right there. And I love him. I mean, he just is. It's like I tell a lot of people, and I'll tell them this is like Payton here. He's almost like 2 years above his age, where Eli is your true 6-year-old. Yeah. And it's amazing that you got two little boys 14 months apart, and they're total opposites.
Yeah.
Just as far as everything, and it's like. But I told Tanya one time. I say, she asked me. I said, she said, anything you ever want to do? And I said, you know how great it'd be to have two little boys to be able to sit out here and play baseball with? And I said, I've done a lot of stuff. And it was 2 years to the day they showed up in my life. So it's like one of them deals, like they say, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, we got it.
Yeah. Well, so, Eli gets a little older. We'll have him on here.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have a heck of a sermon then, won't we?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I didn't mention, I do like your T-shirt that you're wearing. I appreciate that. That's a nice little shirt you got on there.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you got your diecast to take with you. We'll have to make sure we get some one for Eli too.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on here today.
You're welcome.
Good luck this weekend. Tony, good luck with everything.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Good to see you. We don't ever cross paths much anymore. So.
No, we'll fix that.
Yeah. Yeah, right? We're working on it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in today. Like Philip said earlier, don't forget to go to racefangear.com to get all your stuff, your diecast and whatnot. I will have them at Franklin County this weekend. It's a 3:00 race, so it's a little earlier race Saturday than what we normally have. I'll be at Ace Friday night for the Bowman Gray Modifieds. So don't forget to come out and see us, and thanks for tuning in.